So it's time for a very special episode 100 of the Bullpen, where we are doing something a little different tonight. We are simulcasting with Matthew Marsden, and so we're live over on his channel as well. How you doing, Matthew? Good to see you.
I'm doing
It's
very
great
well.
to have you on.
Yeah, I'm very honored to be here on your 100th episode with you and the boys. It's a great honor.
We may still have one more guest popping in. I don't know if you know Carrie Smith from Deprogrammed, but she's supposed to be making an appearance later as well.
Great.
She's obligated. I tagged her on Twitter.
That's always the rule. So, no, we're just happy Matthew could be here because obviously he's been doing working the good fight, so to speak, trying to get Hollywood to do the right thing for a while. I don't know if they're happy about it, but he's pointing things out.
Well, it's not working out very well, is it?
Attempting.
Trying.
So yeah, just because we're live on both channels, Matthew, do you want to do a quick introduction of yourself? I know it doesn't really work for your people, but just so everybody has an idea of who you are, although I think most of my people do.
Oh, great. My name is Matthew Marsden. Hello to all the people that normally come on a Sunday night. We normally have a very relaxed evening on a Sunday, mainly for my Aussies out there. And I'm actually going to go on again afterwards on my own channel. So after we've done Brahma's show, we will go on and do our regular show after this because, you got to do it for the Aussies. But I'm very, very grateful to be on your show, Brahma, and be with the other boys. And for those that don't know me, I don't know. I don't even know how to talk about myself. I guess for a while I was in Hollywood doing things like this thing over here and got canceled for having clear thoughts, I think, having a critical thinking brain. And so then I decided after COVID, basically, to start a podcast. So that's basically it, I think.
Yeah. Well, Chad is my my original co-host. So, Chad, why don't you give a quick explanation of who you are and your channel?
Yeah. So I'm the besides being the original co-host here, I also run the Ascendant Art podcast with my co-host Slender Dad on Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, YouTube, Rumble, all the normal spots, where we talk more about pop culture and just general entertainment and hang out and kind of have a good time. Brahma's usually there, Matt will be there. Occasionally, a couple times, one time, Comics was there. Matthew's obviously always welcome if he wants to, but I know that Friday nights might not work for him. But that's where we do. I had started years back. I had started making a comic strip that was more, I would say, right-leaning in terms of its value set. And this is actually one of the places where I've had interactions with Matthew on X, formerly known as Twitter, because much like Matthew, it is ridiculous how you can't even get dollar bills out of people to help support any kind of conservative, right-leaning entertainment. They don't get it. All they want is a return on investment immediately when you're talking to right-leaning people. Anyway, long story short, I kind of moved on from doing that because I got so frustrated from doing something where I was offering like monthly, tiers of like $1. Just do $1 a month. I was doing a weekly comic strip, and I was, nope, crickets. A few good people, but not enough to really make me feel supported. So that's why I started turning to just kind of hanging out, doing, YouTube shows. That's where I met Matt and Brahma, and it's been, I think, a good time generally. And I think if you watch the Bullpen, we've hopefully given people some fairly good insight over the time we've doing these 100 episodes. We've definitely been ahead of the curve. Matthew, if you had been watching the Bullpen, we told people last year, because I live in Virginia, that the redistricting was going to get thrown out and then had no shot. We've told people how the election was going to go, and it was Trump versus Biden, then Trump versus Harris, with extreme confidence that was backed up by the actual results. And so we like to make sure we're ahead of the curve, providing a good, not just source of entertainment, but hopefully exploration, so people are ready for what's going to be happening in the future with politics.
That was the longest 10-second.
Yeah, can I
elevator
reclaim my
speech
time?
I've
No,
heard.
I'm reclaiming my time.
I don't want to. There's no way to do it in 10 seconds, and Mad's gonna go longer.
Watch,
anyway.
Mad's gonna do it just fine. Mad?
Yeah, just fine. Yeah, look, every Tuesday we do a history podcast called History Interrupted. We even covered a little Aussie history with Burke and Wills, and when a Finian shot the Prince Alfred, and yeah, I do a lot of dumb stuff on my channel, have a lot of fun, and that's it.
And comics.
Boom.
Yeah, I'm Ian, also known as Comics Vision. I'm on Friday Night Tights, and I've been, I guess, doing this whole thing since 2017 or so. So yeah, talk about pop culture, politics, and all the above.
Yeah, so we've got a well-rounded group of people here tonight. So where do we want to jump in? Matthew, I know you were talking about the Carmelo Anthony thing yesterday. We've got the Iran peace deal that was done a few hours earlier today. We could go over that. I think we've got you for what, an hour or close to it. So, yeah, where would you like to go with?
Well, do we
topics?
start with something like completely not controversial, like the Carmelo Anthony trial?
I mean, honestly, here's the thing, Matthew. If anybody looked at the evidence, it should be in no way
pretty simple.
controversial.
I know, right? I know,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, it is. But it shouldn't be, and I think that I would just quickly touch back on the culture issue because I think that it's very relevant when we're talking about all these incidents that we're seeing, whether we're seeing them in the United States or whether we're seeing them in the United Kingdom, and all over the Western world. The problem is conservatives have abandoned the culture. And as Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture. It is. And the whole thing about the Carmelo Anthony situation is that there's been a complete kind of abandonment of decency, of morals, of courage, of standards. And that all comes downstream from firstly, your television and your movies, and it's been doing this for 20 years. And as much as people want to deny it, like politicians, they love Hollywood. Like that's what they want to be. They say, politics is Hollywood for ugly people, and they're obsessed with fame and power. And you can see it with Jasmine Crockett. I mean, she's possibly the dumbest person ever to be in Congress, and that is a very low bar. But I think that what you're seeing with the flagrant disregard for life in the Carmelo Anthony case and the immediate aftermath of that, which was people trying to profit from it instead of looking and saying that, and I said this on my channel the other day, there's something just barbaric. I know that might sound obvious, right? But there's something barbaric about stabbing someone in the heart. Now, I know that might sound like completely obvious, but, killing someone is killing someone, right? You can shoot someone, but even in the war, even in the Second World War, the First World War, they recognized that it was more barbaric if you went and put on bayonets.
Yeah, stabbing is a more personal way of killing somebody.
Yeah, it's
choking somebody out.
There's levels to it, whether it's flying a drone and bombing someone isn't the same as being in a tank or a Bradley and shooting someone as it is with your M4. I was in Iraq. There's levels to that. And talking to people that were in other aspects, it's not the same at all. And to just disregard of anyone else's personal well-being like that is absurd. It's scary.
Yeah.
Not to push back on our guest, but Matthew, that Hank Johnson is still in the House of Representatives, right?
Oh, he is.
I mean, this is the man who actually asked admirals and generals that, aren't they worried that Guam will capsize because our military is on the island?
I mean, it's like I said, it's a low bar.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is shocking. I mean, and you can see the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is an utter moron. I mean, And again, that's another understatement. And then you've got, David Lammy, who is the I wasn't say vice president now. I've been in the United States too long. The deputy prime minister, and that is what you call job security, because that guy, you can start smelling burning when he's thinking, right? Because he's so stupid.
Wasn't recently they were doing the interview, I guess, after the issue, obviously, with the young gentleman who was wrongfully detained by police as he was bleeding to death. And they were like, why don't you want to take a knee for him? And he's like, well, that wouldn't do anything. And he's like, well, you took a knee for George Floyd, who wasn't
America,
even an English citizen. And he's like, well, that was different. No.
Yeah, well, I think, look, at the end of the day, we've just going back to the abandonment of culture. We cannot just attack things on a political level. People have figured out that we need to get into the schools, right, and change that. Like, I won't, as far as I'm concerned, schools are just right now, they're factories of indoctrinating your children. So you have to choose very carefully where they go. But we've kind of like shrugged and said, we don't need to get into Hollywood and into storytelling. And it's a massive mistake. When I joke about this gentleman, but I did actually spend an hour with the president, and I told him that when I was working on Rambo, Stallone turned to me before one of the shots that we did, and he said, remember, this is forever. And I was like, great, thank you. Like, just before the shot, right?
No pressure.
Right, let me just empty my shorts right now, right? Where, And it really stuck with me, because it's true. And what the left does is they gamble on people, especially the low IQ people, not reading books, not looking at history like you guys are doing, which is vitally important, but they will watch films. Like, as far as they're concerned, J. Edgar is a real biopic. Lincoln is a real biopic. They're not going to go and pick up and read books. And Hollywood knows that. And so they have a lot of power, and again, why is it that we have a president that has that was 17 years on television, who destroyed everybody that he went on stage with, and then the other president before that was great was an actor, and we don't seem to understand that communication is really important and that messaging is really important. Trump's changed that a little bit. But we haven't gone into Hollywood. People kind of turn their nose up at it. They don't back artists like you, like comic book artists, and they kind of like it's a very, very strange thing. Yet they all flock when someone says, like Sidney Sweeney says, I'm a Republican. Or suffice to say, Brahma, what I'm trying to get at is the constant like drumbeat and beating over the head of our youth in the culture is creating this society that has a disregard for life, respect for elders. How can you respect your elders if you don't know? For example, you watch Saving Private Ryan and you see what those guys did. Right. That coupled with it being more difficult for people to buy houses in the same area as their grandparents and grow up in a community, it's all contributing towards this kind of transient society and this disregard for life. And we desperately, desperately need to get back to it. And of course, they don't have religion, they don't have faith.
Yeah, that's a major part of it.
Well, it's in the 1960s, the former hippies of the world were, I think, well funded by communist elements, and this is not an unknown thing. We've talked about it before. When the Soviet Union fell and the KGB's files got opened, we found out a lot about how the KGB and Soviet Union were funding a lot of the left-wing groups within the United States for the express purpose of disruption. And what if you look at it, they transitioned from being protesting because they weren't getting a lot of traction with that. So what they did is they moved to taking like in a military context, I think I've used this term before, key nodes in infrastructure. They targeted higher education first, because higher education teaches the lower education, like the teachers
Teaches
that
the
take
teachers.
over elementary and high schools. Then they targeted entertainment. Like you can see in the 70s and 80s, we still had guys like John Milius and a lot of other people who were still presenting. If you look at movies like Red Dawn or Flight of the Intruder, they were still presenting a fairly robust conservative viewpoint in terms of movies. Like even a movie like Independence Day is a fairly right-leaning, we're gonna rah America movie. Look at anything Michael Bay did in the 90s. But they started moving to capture Hollywood too. And once you take education and once you take Hollywood, you're really controlling how society develops. It's no mistake that starting in the 2000s, the younger generations of Americans started coming out wrong. When you look at, that's when they executed full control. And I'm not talking, that's when the greatest generation, like the World War II generation, started retiring out of the school systems, and it was all boomers and younger. That's when everything went to hell in terms of where you can see that changeover. And that's the same thing with Hollywood, because those decision makers started green lighting all sorts of movies. Like the idea that Crash is an Oscar winner for Best Picture. That movie that was one of the canaries in the coal mine about the, the Hollywood system moving away from, traditional value sets. And then, fast forward 20 years, even though we've made progress with Trump on the culture front to a degree, we've done nothing to really take any strides. Because, Brahma and Mad and Comics and we've all talked about, Matthew, like when you look at something like The Daily Wire, when they went in and they were making that big to-do about making that movie with Gina Carano. And no offense, Gina's a nice person and she's great. That movie was shit. It was poor production. It wasn't great. I mean, that you need to have people who want to make
it over Lady Ballers.
Yeah, you need people who want to make good movies, and that's the problem because and this is this thing I've said before on the show, conservatives will use political power to try to make money, whereas liberals will use money to gain power. And you can see they are willing to act like venture capitalists, where they're going to put millions of dollars to all these different projects because they want one to hit. Because if one of those things hits, they end up like, it's like getting a Facebook. So if one thing becomes a really big, cultural win for them, they count it as like victory, and they're like totally worth it. And it also helps
then they
that
just move on to the next thing.
Well, it also helps they have places like Act Blue funneling Chinese money in left and right.
Oh,
to
I'm
help
muted.
With that. So
sorry,
Yeah,
I've been cutting in for a little bit
through you, Matt.
Oh, what?
Look,
echo
why
from-
isn't anyone paying attention to me?
Right, I'm like, oh man, I mean, it's just a great point here. No, I think a multiplier of that is our generation has had that attitude of just getting along to go along. Not, you know what I mean? Being very passive about what's happening, even though we saw it. But I think that there was a turning point. Somewhere around COVID, everybody started to kind of wake up. I know my girlfriend and I both leaned, far more left than most of you guys did. But no, it just, I mean, one thing after another, lie after lie. That's just being proven to be a lie. It just woke everybody up. And I think we're starting to see a broader turn.
Yeah, I think just a quick point about the way that Hollywood works. I'm sure, I mean, I don't know how much you guys have, I just gestured you over there because I've got a fancy new monitor over there. So to me, you're over there. So I'm sure your people know and you guys have discussed it. But if you think of something like The Acolyte, right, which was appalling, it was just really, really bad.
Yeah.
If you take what Stallone said to me to heart and say, remember, this is forever, it doesn't matter about them getting the money back right there and then. It doesn't matter because it's on the platform forever. So they're gambling. And don't forget, it's like if your kids are scrolling on a phone and they see pornography, they're changed forever, right? There's no putting that back in the box. The genie is not going back in the lamp. And so what they're anticipating is that your kids or even your grandkids at some point, right? Because don't forget, like, I'm old enough to remember the first go around with the Star Wars, right? And now people's grandchildren are watching it. they know that eventually somebody's going to be skipping through. They might even forget what all the hoopla about it now, and at some point they're going to hit on it, and they're going to watch it, and then that's it. Lesbian space witches, right? And also they pay the people involved massive amounts of money, and so it's what do those people do, right? They just spend money in the political sphere, and it just ground around. So what they do, and what they did to someone like me, and at one point I was on the studio list, and for those that don't know what that means you can greenlight movies, is that they take you out the game, so you do not have any value in the market anymore, which means you can't choose the movies that are getting made. So what you get is a bunch of lefties that keep paying each other, keep elevating them, so then they still have value in the market. So they go and make the movies that they want to make, because if you have a script, if we got a script right now, if we had one of your comics and we go, okay, we want to make it into a movie, what's the first thing people ask? Who's attached to it?
Right.
And so you've got to go to whoever, John Leguizamo, Matt Damon, whoever it is, you got to go to them to be able to get your money. So they're not going to do anything that you and I want to do. So then we don't get movies made. And then it ends up going like this. And the only person right now really who has the power to be able to get something like that we would kind of agree with made is Mel Gibson. And, he's 70 years old, 70 odd years old. So,
and the other one's even older, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. And he's retired, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I guess you got
did
to
his last
Taylor
movie
Sheridan.
last year.
Well, Warner Brothers sidelined him when Zaslav took over, because they got Zaslav specifically called out. Why are we giving Clint Eastwood $80-90 million to make a movie? And the Warner Brothers are like, because every 3 or 4 he hits for hundreds of millions of dollars, so it's worth it. And Zaslav said, no, we're not doing that anymore. And then Clint was shuffled off, because he used to have a standing agreement where Warner Brothers would basically finance any movie he wanted to make, and you'd get a Gran Torino, and then every now and then you get an American Sniper. And they did, because for every 3rd or 4th movie would be really big. And he actually controlled his budget. So if they gave him an $80 million budget, it came in at $80 million. There was no mission creep like happens with a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, I was in Warner Brothers once, and a friend of mine was coming into town, and me and my buddy were just giving him a tour of Warner Brothers, and we went around the corner, and I looked in Malpaso, because Clint Eastwood has an office there at Warner Brothers that he had a handshake deal with Jack Warner over, right? He's never done a deal with them. And I look across, and Clint Eastwood is sitting in his Hyundai. And I was like, that is really weird. Like, I didn't expect that. But and also, yeah, you're right. He works from, I think it's like 8 till 5, and that's it. Like, he doesn't go over. He doesn't change the scripts. But again, he's one more voice out there that they want to shuffle off. And to your point, by the way, when you're talking about these veterans, the old heroes, the old big actors were heroes, were war heroes, like Jimmy Stewart. All those guys. Clint was he in the army? I know that McQueen was a Marine, right? And all those guys were veterans. And so you've got a bunch of guys who are real patriots who love their country. They would never do a movie that would paint their country in a bad light. And we really missed that. And that has been the change. And I actually saw it. You're talking about like the early 2000s. That's when I came over. And even from 2000 and like 2001, 2002, I saw the scripts chart start changing around 2005. They started getting a little bit weird. And then after Obama came in, it was after I did Black Hawk Down, there was not another positive pro-American movie for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not if you think about Redacted, Rendition, Green Zone, they're all negative.
Oh, Green Zone was horrible.
When did We Were Soldiers come out? That might have been
That
Mel
was
Gibson.
before us, because they trained Yeah, they were training.
That had to be after you guys, though.
No,
I think that was after Black Hawk Down.
no, they were training. At
That was
Fort Benning,
2002.
but they were training at Fort Benning before us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know because we went in after him, so I remember. Yeah, I mean, it might have been released then, but they didn't. They filmed it before us.
That is the quirky thing when the movies get filmed and they hold it for like
Yeah, they
the
sit there for a
release
while.
date. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. It might have been because you guys with Black. Sometimes Hollywood does this thing where like, oh, well, Black Hawk Down's coming out in that same zone. We can't put out. We were sold. It's so similar. And
Right,
then
but then
they'll do was it
Volcano and Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak, and then they did
Prestige and what was the other one? The other magic movie.
The
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 Illusionist.
good one.
The Illusionist. Yeah. No, the
What?
Prestige.
What did you just say?
You're trying to get us
Just
get
trying to
us mad.
rally up.
No, my favorite one was the one with Armageddon, and then it was
Deep
Impact.
Deep Impact.
Because they shot Deep Impact, a chunk of it in Virginia. In fact, we traded in our car. My mom traded in her car right when that was getting filmed, and she was really sad. We'd had this van for like 10 years, and she was like, "Oh, I want to look at it." And they're like, "Oh no, they took it to go blow up in a movie." And it was for Deep Impact. That scene on the highway where they needed all the cars to just get destroyed for the flood. And she was like, "Oh, that made her sad."
By the way, Armageddon holds up. Phenomenal movie.
I know. Well,
Michael Bay's a good director. I'm telling you. I know people
he
hate
can
him,
be.
but
13 Hours was phenomenal. I mean, The Rock.
He's a good director, but he certainly has his tropes though.
Well, Michael Bay
his
is like a
Bayisms?
lot of
Yeah.
directors, and
Yeah.
maybe
Pearl Harbor
Matthew
was a bit of a
can
miss.
comment on this. My feeling has always been that directors are best when they're slightly restrained. When a director gets big enough where he gets to do whatever he wants is usually where problems happen.
You could
So-
say
Yeah, I
Zack
think-
Snyder.
yeah, I think with him, I mean, because I was on Transformers for 6 months, they actually messed up my credit on that, which is really frustrating. So I always say it makes me look like I'm second spear carrier on the right on Coriolanus, at the National Theatre, because they messed up my credit. But I was on that movie for 6 months, and the amount of pressure that is on a director when he's dealing with something like that. I always got on really well with him, and in fact, whenever I was eating my lunch, for some reason, he would come and sit and talk to me, like a lot. I'll be like sitting there, and then next thing I'd look up, and Bay would be there, like eating his chicken. But I think that's right, and I think that if you look at a movie like The Rock, which you just mentioned, which I love.
Yeah, love it.
I must have seen that 1,000 times. He was with Jerry Bruckheimer, and with Bad Boys, he was with Jerry Bruckheimer. So you do have these dynamics on set. Like, I was explaining this to a friend of mine the other day. It's kind of weird. It's not like a normal job, because in a normal job you have a hierarchy, right? Like, you've got your boss, and then normally you report to someone. But if you're doing a film, you've got the studio who's paying you, normally the boss, right? But then you've got the producer that's running the whole thing. That can be your boss. And then you've got the director, who's a separate thing altogether, but he can be your boss. And then you've got the actor that can greenlight the movie. So he's not really beholden to the others, right? It's a weird dynamic depending on where the power is in that relationship. And that's why with certain actors, you need to have a very strong director, and with certain directors you need a really strong producer. And I think that, I mean, Jerry is very laid back, believe it or not. He's really laid back, very quiet on set. I just remember one of my, this is like a really Hollywood moment, right? So I'm sitting on the set of Transformers in White Sands, New Mexico, and we were sitting there going, what are we waiting for? Like, why aren't we? And it was like, we were all in our gear, and it was just sweat, we were sweating, and there's like all the cars, everything around. And then we look up, and Bay's private jet comes in, and it's got like, it's got a Decepticon logo on the back, and he gets off the plane and goes, "Let's shoot." And I was like,
What are we waiting
Man.
for?
That's insane.
But yeah, and we were like, he was in Pacific Palisades having a coffee while we were in makeup. That's just mental.
I've been talking. I've talked about White Sands because I've spent some time there and trying to explain to people how crazy that place is.
Yeah,
it's eerie. I don't know how deep you went in there.
Yeah, well, we went into one of those hangars. That's where we shot. If you remember the movie, there's a part where there's like a gantry that's up, and Optimus Prime transforms, and he stands and he talks to the guy there. And we were in that place, and all that was the way it was. Like, we didn't dress it. It all had these like foam cones, and when they closed the door, all of our cell phones died. It was crazy. It just went poof. And then when we were filming, you know, the big explosion at the end, you know, it was the biggest explosion ever, on like real explosion ever on screen. And we were walking by and we were like, what's that? And they were like, there were barrels of gasoline, like just barrels of gasoline. They were like, they're going to blow them up. But we couldn't stray off set because of all the unexploded ordnance that was there.
That, and I mean, it's crazy. There's just dead animals on the side of the road, birds especially, because they fly over the wrong areas. There's a lot of secret stuff on White Sands. It's a trip of a place.
Yeah, they have the rocket sleds there as well, which is kind of crazy. It's an interesting place.
Yeah. Well,
can we talk about the Trump deal with Iran? Because I haven't heard about it yet.
It's the same thing that
he's been saying.
Basically, they are going to have performance-based release of the frozen funds, that while it's going to be worked out in the next few months, that they will be exchanging or making inert their nuclear materials, either by providing it to the United States or making it inert in the presence of the United States and independent watchdogs. I mean, so it's the Strait of Hormuz will be a toll-free international waterway like it was before. You know, and generally,
Now, from what I've heard, the deal is not actually getting signatures put to it until the 19th.
Yeah, they moved it to. It was gonna be today, and then stuff popped off in Lebanon. And so that caused a little bit of a hiccup, but the Prime Minister of Pakistan has announced that there will be a signing ceremony in Switzerland on the 19th for this. And then the Iranians...
I wouldn't be surprised if before the 19th you see a few more missiles lobbed, though.
The Iranians apparently held off not responding to the Israelis tonight like they were initially announced that they were going to. So,
but as we've talked about with the saving face situation, they'll probably launch a couple missiles into a desert spot where nothing is and say, yep, we took out 40 Americans, and they are tucking their tails and running.
I don't know that that's going to happen this time.
I don't know. It would not surprise me. I was talking with the wife about it, and she was like, well, they're not going to do anything. And it's like, no, usually they'll pop off one last shot just to say,
how many do they have left? I mean, they can't have too many left at this point.
That is also true. And it doesn't sound like Israel's very interested in keeping the Lebanon portion of the deal in place. But
I mean, like we've talked about before, Netanyahu has very different
objectives
because for his personal political power within Israel, he's dependent on generally a state of war to keep it, because remember, he's been kicked out of being prime minister several times and come back, and they usually bring him back when they're doing some kind of war footing, and then they kick him out when they allegedly are doing a more peace scenario. So, and remember, he was also arrested and was being prosecuted by their version of their Supreme Court for bribery and some other charges that then went away. He's got his own issues that make him want to constantly present a war setting. Now, does that mean that Hezbollah shooting rockets shouldn't be responded to? Again, they also have their own security needs to defend themselves. It's complicated. Now, are those aligned with what Trump's deal is and what he wants to get done? We've talked before that the stuff with Iran is really more of a global chess game against China and realigning the oil. I mean,
Freeing up the oil.
What's really
globally.
funny is people who weren't paying attention. If you're not looking, Venezuela went from shipping about 400,000 barrels a day in oil. They were up to 1.26 million is now coming out of Venezuela. We have tripled the output of Venezuela, and a lot of that is shockingly going to China. China started ordering and paying full freight. They used to not be doing that when Maduro was there. They didn't have to pay the actual going rate. What Trump wants to do, and it's really counterintuitive, by normalizing the situation with Iran, if he can negate their nuclear program and get their uranium and everything, that's not goal number one. But goal number two is that once Iran is actually trading on the world market in a normalized setting, China doesn't get to pay pennies on the dollar for the oil they've been importing from Iran. If the market price for oil is $90 a barrel, China was only paying about $30 to $40 a barrel to bring the Iranian oil over because they were doing it outside of sanctions and Iran wanted to just ship oil. This makes them pay full market. It's just like, if you take away these advantages to China's fake capitalist communist market, if they have to pay the same rate as America and the Western world does for energy and all these other things, suddenly they're not as competitive. Their only advantage is labor cost. And then you factor in tariffs and other things that Trump was moving, then you really have no advantage because China will steal your intellectual property. They will build it themselves and then they'll put it on Temu. They'll put it on Amazon and they'll ship it. Famously, China's entire airline industry was ripping off Boeing and when Boeing had a factory there, they pulled right into their mainframe and pulled all their plans, and now they're making the exact same planes as Boeing, but calling it the Chinese manufacturer. So all these companies don't necessarily have an advantage if you take those costs and make them normalized. Then the West actually is very competitive. So I think Trump has always been about that.
I hate the whole 4D chess thing, but when you look at Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, that's what we've been saying this whole time. It really was a little bit more than just we're going into Iran. It was stop any nuclear ambitions, but it is also a hit against China, like Chad was just explaining.
I mean, that's why the next one is Russia. Like if we end up dealing with the Ukraine conflict and Russia again gets into the global market, Trump was right. The number one thing to keep Russia from being aggressive from a war military standpoint is keeping oil around $40 a barrel. Russia doesn't have enough money at $40 to $50 a barrel oil to finance shenanigans. Their entire economy is a petro, driven, through natural gas and through oil exports, mostly to Europe.
Part of this is Europe can now buy from us in Venezuela because we're basically running the Venezuelan oil market, so they don't have to turn to Putin for oil. Still natural gas because they're kind of stupid about the deals they set up, but yeah.
See, I look at the fact that Trump has a guy like
quite a few things. It probably changes the scope of everything for the next 50 years. Yeah, I mean, it essentially is trying to war-proof the U.S. for the next 50 years.
It's funny because, and I don't know if Matthew's old enough to, I mean, he's probably a little younger than to remember Scott Bessent and where he made his bones, which was basically bringing the British pound to its knees, like by being the traitor who orchestrated the strategy for George Soros in the early 90s, which ended up getting the conservative government thrown out, by the way. That's why, Tony Blair became prime minister because the British pound hemorrhaged in 92. And that was because they shorted it so massively that in order to prop up the pound, it basically collapsed their entire finance system. And it made them tons and tons of money. Scott Bessent is the kind of guy who doesn't play around. He's genuinely brilliant when it comes to finance stuff. And when it's no mistake to me that Iran finally made the deal when Bessent came out and was like, "Guess what? We're going to do with the frozen funds? We're going to start paying everybody who you damage with your rockets." Because we're allowed to do that. We can redirect your frozen money and give it to Qatar and give it to Saudi Arabia and give it to everybody else in this region.
Also, a little bit hilarious that we were just stealing tankers in the dark of night.
Yeah, that too.
They should have put lights on them.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, now Matthew, you're in Texas, right? Is that where you're? I mean,
Oh, nice.
Yep.
So we've got 3 out of 5 panelists are in Texas. I would think that being a major producer of oil, that it's been pretty good for Texas actually. And there's a weird counterintuitive thing. Sometimes oil going up can help big parts of the economy, at least in Texas. So have you noticed that? Like, has it helped? Are people like? Because the last time we had a oil surge, which was back around 2006, 2007, before the financial crisis there, like Texas, Oklahoma, they were boom towns all over. We would see news stories about people getting paid like $60, $70 an hour just to do laborer jobs because they needed people that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that initially part of the green energy push was actually to cripple the donors that give to conservative causes, because the majority of the big oil people here in Texas are conservative. So I think, and then they kind of ruined that with going after Elon Musk, didn't they? Now it doesn't matter. But I think that you're absolutely right when it comes to Trump and what he was doing with China. There's too many people look at things very linearly, and they don't look and see things globally. Like, when something happens, I always go, well, I don't know what the threat was behind the scenes, right? And I've known enough people in those intelligence agencies who have come up and said to me, hey, by the way, we narrowly missed X because of this, or this was going on. There's always something going on behind the scenes. And one of the things, obviously, which is a real problem from the United States, was chip manufacturing. And I believe that I heard that the Chinese were putting, we were buying boards from the Chinese and putting them in our subs. I'm like, well, what can go wrong there?
It's a horrible idea, but lowest bidder.
It's unbelievable. Same with the pharmaceuticals. And if you look at what Trump's doing, he's actually bringing everything home. The one thing we don't have actually is rare earth minerals, right? Which is why he was talking about Greenland. And I don't know how you guys think, but I don't see Russia as the enemy. I think that if we look back at the way that Ukraine was conducting itself, it was one of probably the most corrupt country in Europe. And I just think they're both as bad as each other. And I think that, Putin, whether you hate him or not, he looks after his own people, and that's his priority. And I think that the majority of the Brits would love to have someone like that would actually look after their own people. But I agree with you when we're talking about this, like 4D chess and all that. But I do think that Trump has a plan. And I do think all this has been about China. Unfortunately, there is one little caveat to that. And a lot of people who say, we don't want any new wars, which we don't want any new wars. But the Iranians have been killing American soldiers for 40 years. They were they were the number one providers of EFPs in Iraq. Yep. There was a case actually that a lot of people don't know about that my friend was involved in, where the Quds Force actually kidnapped 6 American soldiers, tortured them and killed them, and it was completely hushed up and nobody knows about it. And I'm like, if you do that to an American soldier, you need to be bombed back to the Stone Age. So, and then there's the other element that, the government there, the religious government there are twelfthers. And if people don't know what a twelfth is, they should look it up, because that's a major problem. They want to hasten on.
To get into that with you. I mean, I had asked you about how much you know about Islam and, some of those situations in your chat a few months ago.
Yeah.
And you said you were pretty well versed in it.
Yeah.
We've also been talking about it quite a bit because that invasion is no different than what was going on in the Crusades. Only now they're going to try to outbreed us rather than try to kill us. The killing is coming.
We've talked about it. They're taking the Longshanks method, and now we are paying for it by giving them social welfare.
I did want to mention that when I was in Iraq, everybody that we dealt with was almost always from somewhere else. It was rarely did we actually deal with Iraqis. It was a playground for Islamists. It was just a place to bring the battle to America, whether they're from Iran, Pakistan, what have you, Saudi Arabia. If they were extremists or what have you, they would find their way in Iraq.
And I guess we should do our little disclaimer. Not all.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, I always say this. Look at the countries over there don't accept those people into their countries. The Muslim countries over there don't accept those people into their countries because for the most part, they just want to get on with their lives. It's, when you are importing people from war-torn countries, you're going to have a problem. I mean, that just makes absolute sense. I mean, it just makes common sense. But I mean, in particular with that particular, the issue with the Iranians, everybody has a problem with them in the Middle East. Like they all have an issue with them because of the mindset of the 12thers. But
which is basically we want to bring about Armageddon.
Yeah,
I've been saying it for months and months. If they got the the bomb, it's not like North Korea using it defensively so that you're unattackable now. Iran would go on the offense because that is what their religious belief is.
Yeah, and that's why everyone. This is the funny thing. I mean, everyone in that area around. That's the reason why they were bombing all these other countries, because all the other countries were like, "Don't let them get the bomb." And we don't talk about that. Everyone talks about Israel, but they don't talk about all the other countries that actually have been real allies to the United States, and we should recognize that. There's a lot of people that have put a lot of blood and treasure on the line. I mean. Remember, one of the first things Iran did was it bomb Bahrain, and the US, like they started sending the drones out immediately. So all those countries around there were victims of that as well. And so, it's kind of tough when you've got someone like that on your border. And as you said, in Iraq, all those insurgents were not from Iraq. They were from Iran. In fact, one of my closest friends, his job was to track Soleimani. So,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And he told me, he goes, that with the day that he was killed, he goes, that man is responsible for the death of hundreds, if not thousands of Americans. And that was such a huge deal. And we kind of went, who's this Soleimani guy, right? He was a very, very evil man. And that was like a massive victory for the United States. But we kind of just went over it.
Action that Trump took, so it got overlooked.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, sir, we're coming up on that hour. You want to keep going for a little bit, or do you need to?
If my people are all right with it, I can go for a wee bit longer. I have to ask my peeps on here. I do have to go and speak to my Aussies because I particularly did like the night show because some of the people who watch me from Australia get up so early or late or whatever it is over there. So I can stand for a wee bit.
You
longer.
just switched it recently, didn't you? Because you were doing like a Sunday afternoon time slot.
Yeah, it's good. It's good doing the night as well for me because all my kids go to bed, and so I don't have chaos around me. And it just, as you guys know, doing a nighttime show, it just has a little bit of a different vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's different people. They're weird at night. I was a cop for 8 years and I worked nights. Everyone is weird. Like, it's just a different world.
Especially after 3 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, dude, for real. If you're up past 3 a.m.
They all go out to like Walmart at 3 a.m. It's really weird.
So Australia it was a pretty good day of the World Cup, right? They won their match today, right?
No, sir. Don't do that. Don't bring soccer in here.
It's happening in the U.S. right now. So
The amount of abuse I get when I say soccer from Brits, and I'm like, you
Oh, yeah.
guys invented that name. I know, right? And then there's shows in the UK called like Soccer AM, and you're like, and they're like, it's football, Matt. Don't forget it's football. You're English, and I'm like, I'm American now, man. Like, this is what you want in England is what I do in America. Is I've completely
Assimilate.
assimilated. I've gone absolutely native.
Good.
So look at that. I've got my
Probably visit a
protein
lot of
shake.
Buc-ee's too, right?
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of Buc-ee's.
This guy has Justin hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my new favorite thing with all the travelers discovering Waffle Houses and Buc-ee's, and the fact that American stadiums are gigantic, and this is just our college.
The high school stadiums. I saw a video today. Yeah, like this is the high school stadium.
Matt would also know that Waffle House at 3 a.m. is probably the best time to go.
By the way,
you know
Matt,
what?
did you see Cowboy Stadium with grass? How weird is that?
How dare you?
Natural grass, man. The soccer players get it.
I believe
the football
Matthew had
players,
something
they
to
tell them
say.
F off.
Chad, I believe Matthew had something to say.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. I have a 3-second goldfish memory. I've forgotten.
No, Whataburger.
No, I know what
by
it
the way-
was. I know it was. I've never been to a Waffle House.
Don't.
Probably wise.
Not a night. Yeah.
Do you
But
want to hear something
Stick
crazy,
to the
Matthew?
Denny's and the IHOPs. That
The
you're
Wa-
used to.
Waffle House is way better than
Waffle
Denny's.
House has like a National Weather Service level storm tracking center. They really do because they have so many facilities in like the South where the hurricanes go. They decide, and they end up Waffle Houses end up becoming storm shelters where they distribute food and things. So they have a whole storm tracking center, and they'll like close down places and make track storms. There's whole people who track their actual decide they're like, I'm not going to evacuate my town until the Waffle House weather center says it's time to go.
It's crazy. By the way, I don't know how that just got up on the screen. So, Brahma, I don't mean to be rude, but Aussie Queen of the Ruse just gifted
Yes.
5 channel membership.
We've actually gotten a
So,
few
and
things.
then-
Is your sparkly lion working or not?
Oh, it's my sparkly line.
Yeah, so we can do this.
We can do the sparkly line. We could carry on like this and have lots of sparkly lines. And then
So we had Cindy Dogwood became a member of one of the channels. I'm not sure which one. Deeple sent 5 gifted memberships over here on my channel.
wow.
Dan Crane, I believe, upgraded their membership on mine. And
Yeah,
then
it was on yours.
we'll get some of the Rumble rants in a little bit.
And then I
Sean
got one
Estep
here.
became a member on your channel. Sean's a great guy.
He gifted 10 Matthew Marsden channel memberships as well. Normally I read them out, which they have a lot of fun mocking me because I mess them up. But
Yes, they
you look
do.
like you've got normal people names. I have crazy people names. on mine.
Sean's the best.
Sean gifted 10 on my side. Let's give Sean one of our rewards because we don't do sparkly lions. We do AOC.
Okay.
You want to hear me say something smart for once? The bullpen is awesome.
That's great.
That's one of the tame ones. So
That is great.
here over on your channel again, Sean Estep gave 10 memberships on your channel. There's some sparkly lions for you.
Sparkly line right there. Look at that.
And then, as you had said, Aussie Queen of the Ruse did 5 Matthew Marsden.
Gotta give her another one. I have no idea where the sparkly line came from. It's just something that happened. I don't know.
And I probably have to hit this one because I'm assuming the game probably just ended. WGE for $50 says Canes. So I'm assuming the Stanley
Golden
Cup
Knights have been
is
eliminated.
over.
I thought it said cake. I'm like, what?
Are you
3-0
hungry?
they won, by the way.
No, I thought they wanted to see like some big booty Latina because the AOC came up and I thought it said cake. I put
Kicked
No,
by
my
the
bad.
ocean.
That means the Carolina Hurricanes are your Stanley Cup champions, and we'll do a Sydney Sweeney for that.
I don't always watch YouTube for politics, but when I do, it is the bullpen with Brahmabull and Lil Chad.
The biggest tell that is AI is that I wasn't mentioned, nor was comics. It was just you two.
Well, also that she
Well,
wasn't.
that was an older one.
Yeah, I'm just joking.
And Andy, Zombie Box Reviews, gifted 1 Brahmabull membership. Thank you very much, guys.
Hey,
Thank you to everybody who is gifting memberships. We'll try to hit some of those other super chats and stuff. Most of them were about it being the episode 100 celebration. I appreciate those. We'll hit those after we make the transition, because I want to keep talking with Matthew as much as we can before he has to go. So
I'm not making any transition. I'm just telling you. I'm not making any transition.
probably a good idea nowadays. So I guess, where do we want to go from here? I mean, we started almost hitting the Carmelo Anthony thing.
Oh yeah.
We got into culture from it.
I forgot that's how this started.
The Carmelo Anthony thing, I don't feel like it, and I know Matthew's. It's just it's such an open and shut case.
Whoop.
That it
Instead
doesn't
of moving her, it highlighted her.
I just don't understand.
Welcome to Carrie Smith from Deprogrammed.
Hey, Carrie.
Oh, hey guys.
Like, it
Sausage party
genuinely,
over.
yeah, it genuinely bothers me that any rational person could even question and they're all like, why did he get 35 years? Because he went to trial. He probably could have pled out if he had just pled guilty week 1 or week 2. The prosecutor and the family, because remember, at the time, Austin's family was being genuinely forgiving, at least in public, towards them. And then they made such a mockery of his son, started claiming that his son was racist and was the one picking the fight, that I don't blame the dad for now saying fire and brimstone, whatever. I mean, if they wanted him to only be in jail for like 15 to 20, you make the plea deal at the beginning of the process, not when you've gone to trial and you've made them prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which they clearly did.
And I'm pretty sure the attorney came out and said it's all because of the spokesperson that they hired. I can't remember the guy's name, Charleston something.
Yeah, he
the guy that was running his mouth all over the place.
Yeah, and trying to say the whole family was racist and that it was that he was ganged up on and they were just a bunch of basically neo skinhead kids ready to beat up a young black child. I was like, oh,
dude, this whole narrative around this case has been absolutely insane. And it's like, if you've seen what's been going on Black Twitter, it makes it even worse. It's like, how do you coexist with these people? How do you coexist with basically people going, he got too many years for murdering some dude. It's his first offense. What's the problem? It's like, he literally murdered somebody by stabbing them in the fucking heart. I mean,
and it's like Jasmine Crockett and her friends, and they were like, well, he only stabbed once. It's not like he stabbed multiple times. So that shows that there was no intent. It's like, no, the intent was he stabbed.
And the knife wasn't
bringing the knife to a high school track meet is also a sign of intent.
Well, and the thing is that, that he was asked 15 times to leave. He didn't, and obviously it escalated from there. And they're trying to say, well, if you lay hands on, this is what you get. It's like, he was politely asked to leave 15 times. I mean, at what point you're like,
began provoking.
So my favorite soundbite was when apparently Carmelo's lawyer was trying to make a point, and somehow this was going to provide reasonable doubt, that it was perfectly legal in Texas to have a knife that size. And it's like, what is that? Why it might be
irrelevant?
Yeah, that's like a completely irrelevant point. Like, it's like saying it's completely legal in Texas to have a rifle, but if you take one to a school and start shooting people, you've committed crimes with it.
Yeah.
Like, having a knife is something that you're allowed to have, unless you're in Britain, in which case it's the knife's fault and you can't have a knife. Or was it Idris Elba said we need to have blunted knives?
Yeah. Idris Elba, well, we've just got to take the points off of knives now. But what is the defense supposed to do? I mean, there's video. Every single one of their witnesses said, he stabbed him.
I kind of wonder if they wanted to go to trial because of the whole thing with the Summer of Love in 2020. They think that he would have gotten off.
So allegedly, the real reason they had to go to trial was to keep the GoFundMe money.
That's
No,
what
Because
I was thinking.
maybe.
if they had
It's
pled
money.
guilty, then they would have had to return it because GoFundMe's terms of service don't allow you to fundraise.
Oh, that's right.
For
I
when you're
will say
guilty.
the defense. I want a defense that would be so bold to defend me that they would like maybe he jumped on the knife. Maybe it's his fault that he was stabbed. You
That
know what I
was
mean?
what the guy said. That was
You want an O.J. Simpson defense.
Yeah. If I'm
Yeah.
on trial, yes, give me Johnny. I'll take Johnny all day.
I don't know.
But
I
the
don't-
other thing that's so aggravating, though, is all the people in the mainstream and just every podcaster I've seen that is anything that isn't right.
But
It was an all-white jury. All-white jury is the reason.
Our Texas
totally.
panel has
It
grown.
wasn't.
So Matthew, Carrie, you're also in Texas. How was it getting played on just the local level? Because I'm seeing it nationally because I'm in Virginia, so I'm getting the filtered through national press level. What was it like? Was local reporting more accurate? Do you think that was just as bad? Like, how did it get presented locally in Texas?
Honestly, most of the people I know aren't talking about this case in Texas. I don't know about you, Matthew. And hello, by the way. I didn't want to interrupt. You guys had a good flow going earlier. And so I was like,
was gonna say hello.
I'll
Nice to
wait.
meet you.
Nice to meet you. Happy 100th anniversary, you guys. But yeah, I don't really know anybody who's talking about this case a whole lot. And my algorithm actually is interesting because it shows me a lot of voices. There are a lot of conservative Black Christian voices who are not going with what we're seeing
Right.
in a lot
Right.
of the feeds. So I would highly suggest checking out some of those voices because I think they're very frustrated that that they're almost being drowned out. I think they're
Well, it makes them look
highly,
bad,
yes,
which is unfortunate,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
I
in
mean-
the same way that Nick Fuentes makes me look bad. Or like
Right.
some, like an Andrew, I don't know, like some crazy person on the other extreme. And so I would recommend, if anybody wants to check it out, the Center for Biblical Unity, Monique Dusson, she wrote a great article about it. Kevin Briggins, like there's a couple of different people who are writing about it. It's just they don't get all the attention. And they're actually wondering, like, are we out of touch? Do the majority of Black people think he should have been let off with no consequences? I don't think
I
they
mean-
can really tell what's going on with the public opinion. So
That's what a lot of people are saying. And I mean, the thing that bugs me so much about the all white jury line is all the interviews with people that were outside of the courthouse. They all think it's an all white jury when it wasn't all white.
Yeah, it's
It was
not all
made
white.
up of a mix of minorities. There were just no Black jurors. But they're making the point that their belief in their tribalism is basically saying, well, if there was a Black on the jury, then it would have been fair because the Black automatically would have hung the jury.
Yep.
I mean, that's the
what
point
they
that they're
want.
trying to make is, well, if we had a Black guy on the jury, then this would not have been the outcome. And the tribalism portion of it is what's kind of driving me nuts because you don't recognize any of the facts of the case. You don't listen to anybody giving the facts of the case. I mean, we had people inside the courtroom that were reporting what was being testified to.
Mm-hmm.
We had the defense witnesses perjuring themselves and then proving their point completely for the prosecution. But nobody cared because we're going to be tribalistic about this. And we'll do the thing that I was talking with Matthew about on his channel Friday. Not all, but we shouldn't have to say that. We should be able to talk about these things without us white people having to say not all to disclaim anything that we say afterwards. It's getting pretty old that we can't just speak about these things.
or anybody being able to say to speak in generalities without saying not all. We used to be adults. Used to be able to.
Yes.
It was a given.
Discernment.
Unless you say every single one, it's kind of a given. Like women prefer working with people rather than things. Not all. Yeah, I know. Yeah. We're in a weird place in time. I don't know. I don't think it's the majority though. What do the rest of the people in Texas think? I don't Most people
We're all
are.
in the same. The three of us down here are in the same area. I don't watch local news. I have no idea what's.
I don't watch
what,
local news either, so I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Well, it's
what
really
everything's
not
been.
local to you guys. I mean, it's the same state, but you're
well,
nowhere near Dallas.
yes, but it's Texas. You know, it's across the state. It's 8, 9, 10 hours away from us.
Right. Well, and then the other thing that we've had that is a similar situation, I guess, is the Belfast situation. And Matthew,
I don't
you
think-
might want to talk about that too. Well, not similar, but it's another attack.
Racial tensions.
And
Yes.
it's causing
I think-
racial tensions there in the same way that it's causing some racial tensions here, I think.
Well, I think that it's kind of a very unfortunate situation in the sense that if anyone used to call you a racist, it was the worst thing you could be called. And rightly so, right? Like, rightly so. No one wants to judge someone by the color of their skin. And now all of us don't care, right? Like,
Yeah.
we just don't care. I don't
Rolls
care.
right off our shoulders.
And by the way, is if I'm seeing people, let's be completely honest with it. If I'm seeing people saying that he's justified in doing what he did, I'm stepping across the street and I don't want to be around those people. That's just,
Yeah.
I can't risk it anymore. It's not like I don't give a shit about tolerance anymore. I don't want to be around it. I don't want my kids to be around it. I don't want there to be a teeny tiny chance that that's going to happen. And here's the thing. With what happened over in the UK, let's step back to the Henry Novak case for a second.
Yep.
That was a Sikh, and Sikhs are, I grew up around Indians, Sikhs, Pakistanis, grew up around them. Sikhs are awesome. Never had any problems with them. They love, for the most part, they love the UK. There was actually Sikh units in the British Army that would fight for the United Kingdom, for Great Britain. So what did they do? Immediately after this kid did what he did, which again, you can't separate the fact that he was Indian, right, and played the race card and happened to be Sikh, right? But what did the Sikhs do? Immediately came out, condemned it. They said, this is almost to a person. There were very, very few people, in fact, I didn't see any, that were like, yeah, that was right. We're not seeing that here with the Carmelo Anthony case. We're seeing a lot of people come out and say, and what it is essentially is them not wanting to be held accountable for their behavior, right, in their own lives and what they're doing. There's a lot of projection going on here.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's a lot of blacks in America that are looking and going, that could have been my son. In fact, it's more likely to actually be my son, because if you look at the statistics, especially what's going on, I said this over and over when all those race riots were going on. I was like, BLM, you don't care about South Central Chicago. You don't care about these young black men killing each other. I actually do. I'm sure that everybody on this panel does. Like, we value a human life. It doesn't matter what it is. The left see as these people as pawns to be moved around a chessboard for their gain. We don't see it like that. That's why we don't, the fact that the black community is defending Planned Parenthood, there would be 50 million more black people in this country if Planned Parenthood didn't exist. And we're the ones that are saying that we want it to go away. We're the ones that are saying that we want to support these children, not them. So again, it's this dichotomy, right? They say that we're racist, but we're the ones that want to protect little black children. We want to protect these young men in Chicago and other places, and we want to give them a future because we value human life, and they don't. And I think that a lot of people, in the same way that as COVID went along, people started to realize, hang on a second, these people don't care about me. They don't care about that. They talk, but they don't really care about me. And again, what has happened over in Belfast? So if anyone doesn't know this, just to give people, if I can just rant for a second, guys,
Yeah.
Go for it.
is that the fighting in Ireland started around 800 years ago, right? This is pre-Protestant and Catholic fights. This was people coming over, the English coming over and the Scottish coming over into Ireland and basically settling in Northern Ireland. So it wasn't a religious thing then, right? This was 800 years ago. And then as time went by, obviously there were tensions between the Protestant North and Catholics. And actually, when it really started kicking off at the turn of the century, the Irish welcomed in the British Army because they wanted to be protected, because they were being systematically ostracized. They were pushed out from houses. I mean, from getting houses. It was really, really bad. And then it turned, right, because they started becoming more of an occupying force. So I think it was 1998, I might be wrong on that, at the end of the 90s, they had the Good Friday Agreement. And also, by the way, a lot of people don't talk about this. When George Bush said there's a war on terror, all of a sudden they were like, okay, we're going to go quiet now. The IRA just went away, right around the early 2000s. And Ireland has just been kind of getting on with it. Like, so if you think the last 30 years is the only real time in the past 800 years that they've been united as a country. I mean, they might not be, you've still got the North and the South, but part of the issue, because you can move, if anyone has ever been to Ireland, you just drive up, you go north, south, it's no real difference. And now they're like, hang on a second, we've been fighting for our own sovereignty for 800 years, and both governments are now importing foreigners that are taking over our country.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you can't make it up, can you?
No.
And so they're like, oh, we know how to do this. We know how to sort this out. And they go immediately back to what they were doing 25 years ago, because it means the stakes are higher for them. And in the UK, the stakes are just getting higher, right? Because there has been white flight, right? People have been moving out to the suburbs out there, like pretty much what they've done in America. America's so big, you don't really see it. But you cannot import millions of people. I mean, I think London is 35% foreign born. 35%
That's
foreign
insane.
born.
Much like New York.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't deal with that. Number one, that amount of people, because the infrastructures just can't deal with it. But also the change is so fast, and the culture change again is so fast. And it's not like, so my grandfather was Irish. He came over from Ireland into the UK. And even though there were troubles, we're pretty much the same, right? We're pretty much the same peoples, right? Like the Brits and the Irish, pretty much the same. So and kind of unified in a culture. But again, we spoke about culture earlier, and the leftists trying to change the culture, because if they can change the culture, then what they do is they wrestle away what roots us in our unity, right? Which is a Christian culture for the most part. And what is going on in Northern Ireland is they're seeing this other culture coming in. And so the guy was actually helping those savages, you know that, right? Like, he was helping them.
That's what I
I was
heard.
speaking to my friend. Yeah, he was helping them. And then they got mad at him and they tried to saw his head off, because, that's a normal reaction.
He's also lost sight in both of his eyes. I think he lost one of his eyes, and he lost
got
sight in
stabbed
the
in his
second
eye.
eye.
And he got his nose cut off, so my friend told me today.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh my God.
And it was announced today that he's lost sight in his second eye. He was already deaf, from what I understand, or legally deaf. So now, legally deaf guy can't see anymore either. And his
And so
nose got hacked off. And
I am surprised that he
the
lived.
pain of a slow cutting through your neck.
Yeah.
it is so savage.
Savage.
And I've said this before, like, the UK does not, or did not, have a knife culture. I grew up in a very tough part of the world in the UK, and I would see bar fights every weekend. It was, you go out, you'd have a drink, and then you go, I'd say it the way that the Brits say it, you go out, you'd have a drink, you go to a club, you go to a curry house, you'd have a punch up. And that it was like that every Friday and Saturday night that I can remember as I'm in my late teens, early 20s. And guys would have a punch up, and then they'd like get up and just walk off, and that was it. It was almost like, they were getting rid of, like their I don't know, their frustrations or whatever. And cops wouldn't even arrest them. Yeah, they wouldn't even arrest them. And I remember going on a Saturday for soccer, and a lot of people in America won't understand this, but you would go on a soccer game, and the police would send the hooligans down to a park where they'd meet the hooligans from the other side, and they'd have a fight.
Right.
And this was every week. And so never, not once, if you pulled a knife, you were considered an utter coward. And people on your own side would be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what? So this is a completely imported culture. Mm-hmm. It's not, and, I had people say, oh, well, the Krays. There's a reason why they made the movies about the Kray twins, because they were outliers, because nobody was like that. They were almost uniquely brutal in what they did. So it's been so shocking, and coming off the back of the Henry Novak case, where they're going, well, I can't trust you guys to defend me. And they don't have guns.
Right.
They have no way of defending themselves. So now Brits are like, okay, it's critical mass. What are we going to do?
Well, and the reporting, like in the Novak case, the reporting that police chiefs are telling their people, if there's a minority involved, you side with them first before you side with the white person, because you can't make it look like you're being favorites with white people.
Well, the funny thing is that they're
there
denying...
is no color blindness at this point. It is a two-tiered justice system.
Yeah, they're denying the fact that it is a two-tiered justice system. But the same article I was reading, it literally said that, and not in the same words, that they have a two-tiered justice system. It's like, that is like fucking doublespeak. This is 1984 nonsense.
Yeah.
And then Keir Starmer comes out today and he goes,
that man's treason.
Did you see what he comes out and he goes, we stopped I can't really do a Keir Starmer because I can't be that weak. But he goes, we stopped an oil tanker. And everyone's like, nobody gives a shit, dude.
Yeah,
like,
what do you do about the
cares.
country? What do you do about all these, foreigners coming to your country and ruining everything? Oh, nothing. We're going to turn and look the other way.
It's at this point, all of Christendom is in a bit of trouble right now because, the UK and most of Europe invaded. America has been invaded over the past 4 years. We've got to start getting people back out of these countries. Those who will not assimilate, and there are very specific groups, do not belong in Western culture. They are not compatible. And when I say Western culture, I refer to Christendom, because that's what we've historically been. And I would prefer that it be deportations rather than having to have another crusade. But it's starting to look in certain areas like it's going to be a crusade if anything happens. I mean, I doubt anybody's going to do anything.
People kind
of sad.
You might get more houses burned if nothing is done.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't going to be the last one. I literally, if you remember, Brahma, we were on the show on Friday, and I said, this is going to happen again. And it happened the same day. And I was like, you got to be like, look, when those little girls were murdered, okay, there were 3 little girls that were murdered. People should have been out in the streets protesting. They should have been out and said, we're not moving until you do something. Again, I have to preface it peacefully, right? We should be out there saying, no more. This has got to end. And then there was a woman that was murdered in my hometown over a pack of cookies by a guy that followed her. Rhiannon White, her name is. I keep saying it because you cannot let these people be, just forgotten and just moved on.
Right.
And every single time I see this, every single time that you see someone be killed, and it's in such a brutal, like I say, we spoke about earlier, such a brutal way, it's on the government's hands. Blood is on their hands. And I am disgusted by them. And I think that In the same way over here, by the way, we talk about invasion, but Trenda, I can never say their name, so you guys can say it. Aragua. They are torturing, murdering, and raping women. Right, obviously, the women they're raping, but they're torturing people. They're being really brutal. And then we've got these idiots going out protesting ICE. I mean,
Yeah.
we have an epidemic. We have a mental illness epidemic in this country. And we need to start just saying, you know what? We're not accepting it anymore.
Yeah. The suicidal empathy cannot continue to go on.
It's the social consequences for that. It hasn't been severe. It's so funny because the left claims to be so tolerant, so compassionate. Of course, we know that everything they say is doublespeak. They're not at all tolerant. They're the most cult-like. They have the most ideological conformity. Studies show this, data shows this, anecdotal evidence, everything, we've experienced it. But we are very tolerant people. Those who are not in that cult or not in that cult anymore. And it's reached that place where we can't afford to be carpets anymore, just to be walked all over and to have the culture change and stolen. And I look at what's happening in LA. Just one final note on this. I was so excited about the Spencer Pratt race because I lived in LA for 15 years and I thought nothing could, maybe things were bad enough there finally that people could be shaken awake from this mental illness, this mass mental illness that you're talking about, this mass mental and moral illness. But it really is. It goes to show you, like that it is suicidal empathy, like Gadzad calls it. Like they will put anything on the line rather than give up their identity as being. It's very powerful. This idea that like they're the good ones and they're on the right side of history, and the idea of leaving that of losing that identity is so. It's so taboo to be anything other than left. When you're in that cult, it's so taboo that they will sacrifice their children. Their children's safety.
They bare their throats for the blade.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the problem though is that because of the Ferguson effect, cops are so scared to do what they have to do, and it just allows this to fester on the streets. They're protesting the resisting arrest when you're clearly in the wrong. It all just grows from there because there's no one stopping it from happening. And I do mean in a legal way, the protesting, they just allow them to do so much before they're even in the position to where people are like, okay, now you can react.
Yeah, look at what happened in San Antonio, Texas last weekend at the Turning Point USA, the Women's
TPUSA.
Summit.
Yep.
Yeah, that you're not allowed. It is not protesting to assault people, to assault the police, to intimidate people. They tried to rush a police line, a barricade. That none of these things are legal. We've gotten so used to just allowing them to do this.
Right.
There should be consequences for it. Consequences that are severe enough that it's a deterrent to committing this kind of crime.
Instead, they're in and out of the
look like a
jail the
small
same
group.
day. Sorry, Comics, go ahead.
No, I said, you know how many people were there, Carrie? Because it seemed like it was a small group.
Do you mean the protesters?
Yeah, the protesters.
I'm not sure. I can look it up.
Because when I saw the photos, it looked like maybe between like 50 to 100 people. It didn't seem like it was very big.
Yeah, so what's the problem? How come you can't round those people up?
Exactly. Well, because
when we do, then they're let out of jail like a few hours later.
Well, no, that's definitely a problem. But part of the problem, though, is because no cop wants to be the next guy on CNN having his life destroyed over.
Well, but body cams, though, I think that has really changed a lot of things because
we had cameras in the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin thing. And
yeah,
we had autopsy reports, and Derek Chauvin is still in jail for the rest of his life.
It's a mindset.
100 protesters, by the way.
Yeah, well,
it's a mindset. I was there. I was a cop when the whole thing went down with Ferguson, and overnight you could see a difference where people, cops weren't proactive at all. Nobody wanted to do it because the way I always operate, and I've said this plenty of times, is I would ask you to do something, I would tell you to do something, and then I'm going to make you do it.
Yeah.
Yep. But now, though,
I think a lot of things have changed, though, because look at all these events that have happened where the media has tried to hype it up as a cop murdering a black person, and The body cam footage has basically been countering all these narratives, and now they want to get rid of body cams.
Right, because it didn't prove the narrative that they wanted.
Yep.
But Matt is saying things did change. It made the cops not want to do things because it doesn't matter whether the body cam's there. The narrative is what gets
doesn't.
you.
Yeah, that was the Ferguson, Missouri case. I can't say how I knew, but I knew the entire course of events that happened that night, like before everybody else basically knew about it. And so that was the first case for me where I was watching the media lie. And I knew. And it was, that was a real eye opener for me, let me tell you. Like sitting there and I'm like, but that didn't happen. And I know that didn't happen, but you're saying it happened. And even when, they were, I think didn't they change the prosecutor like 3 times? Because they were like, we can't prosecute because there's no evidence or the evidence is against it.
They had Obama's DOJ do everything they could to bring a case.
Yeah.
And they could not bring a case.
Yeah,
Federally, they said, there's nothing there.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I just
the
want
hands
to go
up,
back
don't shoot narrative was all bull.
Because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to go back to something that we were talking about. A friend of mine wrote this book, and it's really great. I really recommend it. It's called Awake, Not Woke. Because we're talking about, like, why is it that people feel like they can do this, right? Why do they feel like they can rush cops and get away with it? And there's been a lot of enabling over the years, right? A lot of enabling with, as you said, people getting arrested and then being let out straight away. If you know, Kerry, you were in LA, you know that they put the price up. If you stole up to $1,000 worth of stuff, they couldn't arrest you. So people literally going in CVS and stealing stuff.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is, it's this all, again, we're talking about culture. It all comes back to culture because it's how do you discipline your children, right? That's at the core of it, right? Like, how do you discipline your children? And then how do they behave as they go through the system and finally get out and be in real life with everyone else? Because it doesn't matter. Like, my kids could be enabled as much as anyone else to go out and do bad things once they're out of my house. But we raise them differently to have a different set of morals that we all share on this panel, right? We all share those morals. And what's interesting, my friend Noel Mehring goes into the woke and how they are made, right? Like how they come to be. And I think this it's all linked, right? It's all linked because it's about people that have certain dysfunctions enabling other people with dysfunctions, right? So they can look at each other and go, hey, I got this dysfunction, you got this dysfunction, we're buddies, right? Like, so we'll support each other, right? Even when you're looking at, like, Gays for Palestine, you're like, they were throwing people off buildings. Like, it's this craziness, right? Like, they're not really thinking it through. But the thing about, I just want to say this, the thing about Awake, Not Woke, which is amazing, is that it used to be like, as we were going through school, and if you weren't physical, like if you weren't an athlete, then you tended to gravitate towards actually intellectual pursuits, right? You studied more, or if you weren't as smart, you could be a great athlete, and you kind of find your way, right? It was this kind of like filter system that you'd figure out kind of who you are, right? And then you would go and, let's say if you were a genius at science, you'd win the science prize, and everyone would go, oh, well done, you won a science prize. Or if you're an athlete and you run really quickly, you win your heat or whatever, and then they go, oh, you're a great runner. Well, the woke movement made it so that people were glorified for saying, I was born a man, but really I'm a woman. And everyone goes, oh, you are so brave.
Yeah.
You are so amazing. Like, how amazing are you? And so they didn't have to do anything anymore to feel elevated. It's like the laziest people in the world, right? Like, you don't have to do anything. You just say something and everyone goes, oh, you're so brave. That's amazing. Let me give you all this stuff. And that's why I think so many of them don't actually go through with the surgeries, because it's not about that, right? And especially as kids come into, their, come through puberty, right? And I'm gonna talk to the don't think I'm misgendering you, Kerry, right here. I'm gonna say you're a woman, but especially for women who are really trying to find out who they are. Men have it in a different way, right? They go out, climb trees and fight and do all this other stuff. But with women, it's a really different process, and it's a very vulnerable time. And if you don't have those safeguards around you that allow you to blossom and bloom, and you don't have someone telling you that you're beautiful all the time, and which I always make sure I do, especially with my daughters, then there's this hole. And people start looking to fill the hole. We know a lot of the time it's a God-shaped hole, right? Yes. But they start looking, and then if you have someone come along and go, well, maybe it's because you were born in a different body, or maybe it's because this, or maybe it's because that. And then all of a sudden, when they take on that persona, they're elevated and they're told that they're special. That's the easy route, right? And the same thing is happening with certain members of the community. They're told they're very special, that they should have reparations, that they should be given certain things, that they're a victim, right? So you're seeing this all across the board. And it's really, really, I know it's a stupid statement. It's very, very unhealthy, and it's really unhealthy for society. But they look at each other and they help each other. And then you've got the Democrats who are like, we've got a bunch of people who are mentally ill. Exploit them. And that's what it is, right? Like the Democrats don't believe this stuff at all.
No, but the Democrats are, it's very much like what you said about two different types of personality disordered people working together, almost like the way that narcissists will work with narcissists if they share a common goal for the time being. And I view a lot of the Democratic politicians as sort of that very cynical, like you said, they don't actually believe it, but they are there to exploit, and they will speak whatever they need to speak to gain power, money, influence, fame. And so yeah, they're working together. It's like they're also morally ill, the ones who know that it's all ridiculous. But the ones who believe in it, they believe that this is like, I used to be in it, by the way. I was in it for 20 years. They believe that it's they're on the right side of history and they're doing good, and this is their identities wrapped up in it, like you said.
Well,
It's really hard to overcome that.
Yeah, there's also the aspect of, oh, okay, this is what Democrats believe, so I should believe it too, right? Because this is, they're the good guys, and this is their belief system, and therefore I'm just going to believe it too. Never really putting any thought into it.
Well, it's also they're forcing everyone to accept who they are. It's Friedrich Nietzsche said that the demand to be loved is the greatest of all arrogant presumptions, right? There's this whole group that is demanding us to accept them, and to not just accept them, but to celebrate them. And it just gets more and more degenerate, their behavior, that we're supposed to just accept.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and that's the other side to it too. Those are the people that are being exploited.
Yes, because we used to call it mental illness, and we would have tried to treat them, or at least get them through it, not just affirm it and say, yep, good to go.
Yeah, this is part of that thing about like being less tolerant towards it. I mean, I kind of like to echo what many of you were saying. Yeah, they've overused and they've abused words to the point where they've stripped those words of all meaning. And a lot of their magic tricks that they used to play, their spell casting or what have you with words, it's sort of, they don't have the same effect. I noticed they've moved on from calling they still call everyone racist. They call everyone a Nazi, but they've moved on now to PDF file. That's their
No,
new
calling
thing.
people, yeah, PDF
Yes,
files.
is to call
Nazi's
everyone
going to
that.
fall out of their lexicon real
For-
quick due to
well,
Yeah.
Wagner.
if you want to, like, it's a goalpost movie thing. In the 90s, it was tolerance. And then in the 2000s became acceptance.
Acceptance.
And then in the 2010s, it became subservience. Like you move from you have to tolerate my lifestyle to you have to accept my lifestyle to my lifestyle is better than yours, and if you say anything, you get in trouble. And I mean, Brahm and I have talked about this. Like people, like when because I remember having this argument with people back in the 90s when you'd say, "This is a slippery slope. Follow the logic to the natural conclusion." Because I remember arguing with people back in the 90s. It was about gay marriage.
Yep.
When I was like, the gay marriage, like, but what, you don't like gay people? I was like, no, I'm not saying I don't like people, but I don't have to celebrate their choices. I don't have to accept their choices. I would always argue that when they would talk about civil unions, like there's nothing stopping anybody from making legal contracts if they want to leave their assets to somebody. There's also, you could make trusts and make that person a trustee. You don't have to be married to them. You don't have to have children with them. There's all sorts of legal mechanisms and they would be like, well, love is love. And I was like, then how come you can't marry your sister? And they'd say, well, that's disgusting. That's gross. And I was like, you're making a moral judgment because you're either telling me that love is love and you can't make a moral judgment because that's what you're telling me because I can't judge homosexual marriage as a moral problem and therefore not something we could celebrate. Because if love is love, if two consenting adults had just happened to be siblings, why can't they be married? And they're like, well, that's ridiculous.
That becomes an umbrella term that starts to cover all kinds of stuff.
And people would say, well, that's ridiculous. And I was like, why is it any less ridiculous than homosexual? Well, that's different. I was like, 100 years ago, they were the same level of morally bad.
Yeah, and they didn't even have dryers for stepsisters to get stuck in that time.
Yeah.
What?
So, but and the slippery slope is undefeated. People try to pretend like it. Oh, that
like it's a logical fallacy.
The slippery slope is won every single time when you look at it. It always the goalpost, whatever thing, Overton window, goalpost shifting, slippery slope, whatever way you want to call it. It's undefeated. And the only way that there's counter movements, and I think, and it's kind of goes all the way back to this, like you push people so far until, it's law of physics. There's going to be a counter reaction to it. And sometimes it's worse. Like, in Britain, in Ireland, in Europe in general, there's going to be, and it's going to be soon, because whether like even Sinn Féin was selling out Northern Ireland. The idea that the IRA affiliated party is selling out Ireland for immigrants is boggles the mind. If you go back to what that party was, all the way back to, was it Ryan when he was doing stuff in the 90s when he was like, we're not we have nothing to do with the IRA and the bombings, right? And within 20 years, flip the script to be subservient to the EU to allow mass migration. And then you look at what Spain was doing, where they suddenly nationalized 800,000 immigrants. And then when you realize because of the EU's freedom of movement laws that now 800,000 who's officially papered from Spain can just go wherever they want within the EU block and go to any country. I mean, this was a thing, for a while in the EU in the 90s, and maybe Matthew was around and remembers this. There was a thing where a lot of EU people were complaining about Turkish people coming because it was part of the EU. They would just flood the zone, and that was nothing compared to what happened when Erdogan decided to open the floodgates as the refugee port. I'm not conspiracy theorist, but then when you've got groups like the World Economic Forum completely advocating for the importation of the third world population as a mechanism for the projects that they want to get in, where you want to, this goes to something Matthew was talking about earlier. You own nothing, you're going to be a renter forever, because that way, if you own nothing, you have, if you go look at American history, one of the primary things that led to the American Revolution was because the ownership class became the founding fathers, because they were the ones most put upon by the British taxes and the other things. So if you are the EU and you look at historically, you want to go back to a friggin' feudal system where the residents on your land own nothing. There's only an oligarchy, or it's not a monarchy anymore.
They've pushed this to a point where they're at the third stage of leftist,
the fourth turning,
because it's that's not happening. Okay, it's happening sometimes. We're now at it's a good thing that it's happening, because the new talking point that they've started hitting with the mainstream media is, no, being a renter is far superior to owning a home, because you can pick up and leave, you can get a different job, you can travel, you can go see everything.
Completely taking
That's
away
what they're
that
trying to convince
home
everybody
equity
now.
is the number one method and vehicle of building generational wealth, in non entrepreneurial settings, right? You get your starter home that you can flip for a slight profit to get into your bigger home, and you pay that off, and then you use that to put your kids through college. That's what all my parents did. They were using home equity as a way to pay for college education every year, and it worked. And now then, no, we don't want you. And then they gave subprime mortgages to all the people who shouldn't have had mortgages. You destroy and you flood the system. And here's the thing about a contagion when it comes to banking. It only takes about 3 to 5% of default to completely destroy a bank's economics, because they're very tenuous. Everyone thinks that big banks have these huge profit margins, but they're, in terms of capitalization, they are not very liquid anymore. Banks aren't liquid. They're very sensitive, and that's why in 2008, when it was only about 5% default, which you'd think, well, that means 95% aren't, but that 5% of default rate was enough to completely
domino the whole system.
Hundreds of banks that were small banks and that's the other thing. We lost all these small banks, and they got gobbled up by big banks that are now even bigger and too big to fail. And they're insulated. So I'm getting into conspiracy theory talk now.
No, but I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory when it's happening, and the same thing with like BlackRock and what they're doing, buying up all these houses. It's funny because, again, I've been seeing those ads. Well, they're not really ads, but it's like, hey, let me tell you how I sold my house and it's way better. It's on Instagram, right? They'll have it on Instagram. It's way better now that I rent because of blah, blah, blah. And then, if you are certainly in Texas and you're looking at property taxes and you're, a young couple, you're going to go, well, yeah, of course it's better, because I'm actually never going to be able to own my own home because they keep taxing me on unrealized gains, right? So it's absolutely absurd what they're doing out here. And we need to do something about it. And it's one of the things that I've been very, very disappointed that Trump hasn't done more about. I mean, don't even get me on how Texans are asleep at the wheel. You talk something, no, don't mess with Texas. Don't mess with Texas. I'm like, have you seen the Texas legislature? It's a disaster. Mm-hmm. Greg Abbott is a joke. I'm sorry, he is. I mean, he's like this. Oh yeah, I'll go that way with that. It's just, when we've, as you guys know, if you came from California or came from another state, you're so glad. I mean, you got Gavin Newsom, right? Mm-hmm. So anything's an improvement on him. But then it's one of those things where you're like, well, you aren't really a conservative. Like, why didn't you shut the border? Oh, you did after a while, and you put barbed wire out there. Well done. 6 months later, you get your act together, and we are living under the illusion of freedom. And I think that it's kind of ebbing away from us. But I do. The good thing is Americans have that rebellious streak in them, which is why I'm here.
Yes.
And there'll come a point where they'll go, I'm done. I've had enough. But I do think right now, by the way, just talking about what you guys were saying earlier, even a year ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would not be talking about the black community like we've just spoken about, and we wouldn't be talking about, what's going on with the LGBTQ alphabet mafia. We wouldn't be talking about that a year ago. So now we're at a point where I don't know how much further it can go without it swinging back. I don't think it's properly swinging back yet. I think it's getting there, the pendulum. But what I do worry about, and this is just a genuine concern for me as a Christian man, is there are a lot of the, and again, it's like a trope, right? There are a lot of good people in these communities, right? In these, in the black community, in the Muslim community, even in the gay community, there are good people that just want to get on with their lives. Mm-hmm. And if you don't isolate and say what the problem is, my fear is that everyone's going to get dragged into it. And that has been a fear that I've had, certainly with the UK, for 10 years. It's been, because what's going to happen is, and let's be honest about this, right? You're going to walk down the street and there's going to be a mob and they're going to go, oh, you're that demographic. All right. Yep. It's just history. We know this from history. And I don't want it to happen. I don't want innocent people to be hurt. And I think that we're right at a tipping point. Certainly the UK is right at a tipping point. And the thing that got me, though, guys, I will say this, and I'll shut up. All I wanted the British government to do was to come out and to say, I understand your anger. I understand it. And then to take, that is where you do a softly approach. You don't go and throw people in prison. You don't go out and do that. Just, it's almost like, after 10 years of people getting stabbed to death, we're not going to take it anymore. Yeah. What do you expect if you aren't doing the job that you're meant to do, which is protect your own people? And now you're getting angry at the people after they've seen multiple people and a guy be blinded in both eyes and nearly have his head chopped off. Maybe you should lay off a little bit. Maybe you should go, they got a point. I'm not saying that they should do it, but it is understandable, right? I mean, we are human. And I think that they've been very tolerant for a long time. And I just think in that particular case, when they're letting the you-know-what gangs off and they're not cuffing the guy that stabs the guy, maybe you should just lay off.
But you're also going to find people that are going to display the flag.
Well, we've all
the country's flag.
when the prime minister of your country was the person who was leading the cover-up of the grooming gang investigations, right. You've got a problem there too.
Remember,
I think part of the problem.
Channel, so don't use language that he might not.
I said think, grooming gang. I didn't say what they were actually doing.
A quick reminder.
I know.
I think part of the problem is too many of the politicians are captured by social media. Here in San Antonio, our mayor gets hired a TikTok real estate guy to help improve her image. He has 10,000 followers on Instagram, 5,000 on TikTok, and he was just hired by the mayor of one of the largest cities in San Antonio to help her image. Who does that? That's such an idiotic thing to do. But they care so much about the
White House
response on social.
I mean, this isn't like
right. That's what I'm saying. There's too many politicians. Yeah, but that's what I'm kind of getting at. It was just sad seeing the numbers that the dude that she hired. Those are low numbers, but it's across the board on both sides of the aisle. Their audience captured, but not by the people they serve, but by social media. That's where their focus is at, rather than being on the people that elected them. Is what's trending.
Well, it's going viral. I mean, politicians have always done that, even without the social media aspect necessarily. they would always chase the news camera.
Right, but that's
Be
different
the one
though.
to come out and, I get to make the first statement, and every
Right.
single one of the committees is also just.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about them changing their policies on what social media is. They think that people are wanting them to do through Twitter, through Blue. What's the other Blue Force One?
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky. That's the one. That's different than they've always
Which is
been
also insane
grandstanding.
because you're not hearing from your constituents. The internet,
Right.
you're not getting limited to, the town of San Antonio as the mayor of San Antonio. You're supposed to be representing your city or your constituents. And yeah, you can't do everything by social media committee. And really,
Yeah,
it
but
just
they-
goes
they
back to
got-
we've
they-
got to get back to the states appoint senators, not direct elections of senators. It all went wrong there.
But the problem is this: these people are narcissists. They're only in it for themselves. Then they don't have servant hearts, right? That's not what they're doing it for. And
Right.
why would they when you can go and be a politician and leave a millionaire? Why would you? It used to be that you could go, you serve, right? I mean, even if you look at all the founding fathers, right? They had their own businesses. They were doing their own thing. They went and served, and then they came out for the most part. And we have an epidemic of narcissists. If you think about the way it used to be in the before times, right, Brahma, in the before times when to get on television, you had to go through a filter system. Yeah. Now everyone has a way of getting out there on television. And I don't think, look, I've said this about, and I'm again, let me go on a quick rant about this. I said this about Christians in the media for the most part. When they think that they're immune to the Hollywood system in the same way that these politicians go, you know what, I'm going to go to DC and I'm going to make a difference. And then they go to the restaurants and then they get the private jets. And then they have the women thrown at them as far as the men are concerned, throwing themselves at them. And all of a sudden, the devil's temptation is strong and they can't weather it and they start enjoying it. And I think that it's different levels for different people. It can be, I just walked to the front of the queue, the front of the line.
Right.
I kind of like that. Right.
Politicians leaving DC don't have to stand in the same security lines. They get to go straight through.
And he just, even some mayor in some little city or little town, same thing. They get to the front of the line. They get preferential treatment when they go into restaurants. Everybody knows who they are. And certain people shouldn't be around that because it's fatal for their soul. You can't be, and I've seen it 1,000 times. I went through that when the success I had in Hollywood, I did it before I came back to my faith, right? So I kind of saw all that, knew it was BS. I knew that it didn't make me happy. I mean, it was nice. Don't get me wrong. It's. I'm not saying that it wasn't nice, but it wasn't the most important thing to me.
Right.
And so many people think that they're immune to it, and they are not. And you see, a classic example is why these 90-year-olds are still in Congress, clinging on like a crypt keeper, like, no, I've got to have the power. I mean, they have no idea what we experience on a daily basis, let alone the kids. I mean, they have no clue. I mean, Feinstein and Mitch McConnell. I mean, honestly, it is disgusting that there are people that old in Congress. It's
Mitch went back into the hospital today.
Holy boy!
But
We still don't know for what, but he's back in the hospital, hospitalized.
Maybe he needs another
84
battery
years
change.
old.
He went into the hospital because the check from China bounced, so he couldn't pay for his.
You're right that people have different acceptance of how much it's going to take for them to be bought off. And for me, I hope I never get anywhere near comics size on YouTube because I would become a Disney shill so quick, and it, cheap too. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't take that much.
I'm still
I
talking
love
to
the
Gary.
Mandalorian.
And we're
Great.
still waiting for
Grogu's
our
the best.
$7,000 for.
Yeah. When do we get our $7,000 from Israel? I mean,
You guys, I rewatched The Acolyte. Not that bad.
Shut up, Mad.
I
did you
just
start
I just
calling
wanted
you
to
Mad?
underline. I just wanted to underline what you're saying there about politicians and people seeking fame, and it's that whole thing that I think it's so. How do we get people to run for office? How do we get people to want to do that job? Who are good and honorable people? Because good and honorable people don't want to do that. Good and honorable people are busy leading their church, being a deacon in the church, doing the kids' Bible study, organizing stuff in their communities. Like they have families they're raising, they're doing the stuff that
or they
matters.
get
It's
ripped
actually
apart for running.
it's a really simple way to do it, and this is how it was when we first founded the United States. Congress was in session for about 3 to 4 weeks. It
Out
was
of the year.
it was a citizen legislature. You went in for 3 to 4 weeks.
Like jury duty.
And Virginia actually was just like that till recently, because when the Democrats took over, they just quadrupled their own pay, because the Virginia legislature, when it gets elected, its term is usually about 3 to 4 weeks. They get sworn in January. They're supposed to do all their bills within that 3 to 4 weeks, and then they're supposed to leave. And the actual pay rate for being elected in the Virginia legislature was around $12,000 a year.
Can you imagine?
So you have to have a full-time job, and they just quadrupled the pay. Like, because the Democrats, the first thing they did, we have a cost of living crisis. That's what Abigail Spanberger ran on. The first bill they passed was giving themselves a pay raise. Well, I shouldn't say first. The first thing they passed was their redistricting constitutional amendment that bombed out in the Virginia Supreme Court. But
what actually portrayed that very well, the way it used to work, was the John Adams miniseries on, I think it was
Great
HBO.
miniseries.
that did that
HBO.
one.
Yeah, HBO.
Yeah.
That was Paul Giamatti as Adams.
Giamatti as Adams. Yep.
Yep. That was by Tom Hanks, I think, produced that one right after Band of Brothers. I think that was the follow-up he did after Band of Brothers. And it was
First
based
two
on
episodes, at least, everybody should be forced to watch.
It's based on a David McCullough book. If you wanted to ever read it, David McCullough is a great historical nonfiction writer for American history.
Chad, you know a lot of things. So what would we need to do to get back to that?
What
Some
would
say
we need
too
to
much.
do? All right, so I've
You know a lot of things.
All right, so I've lived in Northern Virginia. I work in GovCon. The number one thing you can do if you want to fix it, and it's really simple, you make it so they can't have staffers. If you make it so that a congressman can't have a chief of staff, a legislative assistant, interns, and all this other stuff, if they had to do it themselves, all of a sudden bills would be and you also cap the bills to be maximum 5 pages.
So I think part of the problem is before anything can really be fixed, we have to do something about the lobbyists. That has to be just cut from the way everything works. Because even at that level, even the staffers, right? Once they figure out how shit works, they get picked up by some lobbyist
Well, that's the thing,
firm, right?
because-
So the turnover, they're always having to teach people how things work. So nothing can actually be done.
If you keep them from having staffers, you're right, it destroys the pipeline. And then if you cap bills at 5 pages long, it means that you can't sneak. The reason that lobbyists can get away with what they get away with is you make 2,000-page omnibus bills where you can sneak all that crazy shit in. If you make a bill 5 pages maximum length, the average American citizen can read a 5-page document fairly quick.
Honestly, if I was a senator and somebody had this bill, I would ask Grok, TLDR this for me. Because
that's what they'll do without staffers, is they'll just have the have AIs write the bills.
Yeah, they would have to.
Now, the funny thing is, one of the most accurate movies ever made for how things actually work in DC.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Nope, The Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie
Oh
Murphy.
yeah, that's a great movie.
where he gets elected by, he has the same name as the congressman who dies, so he just runs in that district, and so people aren't even thinking, so they just check the box for his name because he's been the congressman there for a while. And Eddie Murphy gets to DC, and he's talking to someone, and he's like, "Well, what's your position on this bill?" And he's talking to a lobbyist, and the guy's like, "I don't care what it is. If you're on this side, I'll get you money from these people, these people, these people, and these people. And if you're on the other side, I'll get you money from them." Like, we'll get you paid no matter which side of the thing you're on. DC is like that. Like, there's money for either side of the issue that you're on. The difference is, in the last, I want to say, actually the Clintons is where this changed, because that's when Chinese money started flooding the zone. That's when China realized, unlike Russia, instead of spending all this money to do, I guess wars in other parts that were, stand-ins for U.S. and Russia, China realized it's super cheap to buy politicians. To just straight up buy them. Like, that was when Clinton started renting out the Lincoln bedroom and all that. Like, for a $10,000 to $20,000 investment, you can own a congressman. And
man, we need to pull our money together and start buying off some politicians.
20,000 or a Fang Fang.
Well, that was so they bought off all those congressmen in the 90s, and it was, remember, China didn't get most favored nation trading status till the end of Clinton's second administration and the beginning of Bush 1. And that's when they sucked up like a Hoover all the American jobs that NAFTA wasn't taking to Mexico and Canada. Because that's when they were allowed to, most favored nation brought down no tariff barriers for all that. So that's where China had made that investment. They got it to pass, and then they've been reinvesting. There's the Confucius Centers, and in any college that has a Confucius Center is a front for Chinese money to buy people off and indoctrinate. They got people like Swalwell with Fang Fang with the honeypots. I mean, what's the saying in DC is, if she's a 10 and she's interested in you, it's a honeypot. Like, you're not that interesting and you're not that attractive. It's an operation to get you.
Man, I had such a great joke. What's the guy's name that always catches people on dates talking crazy?
On dates? Oh, what is his name? O'Keefe.
Right.
James O'Keefe.
O'Keefe. Yeah, I was gonna be like,
okay.
yeah. If you see it, if a 10's interested in you, O'Keefe is right behind her with a camera.
Right. Except almost all of O'Keefe's honeypots are
gay men
on dates with men. It is so much easier to honeypot a gay male.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not saying there's a stereotypical behavior among gay men about being promiscuous, but there is.
All right, let's put a pin in it. We've got a lot of super chats from both channels to get into real quick, and I don't want to monopolize Matthew's time. We've already done 2 hours.
Yep.
So
but he's got a lot of memberships.
Whatever. Let's just keep going.
Well, I mean, we usually do an after show that lasts for another 2 or 3 hours. So you're welcome to stay as long as you want. Me and Chad usually go 4 to 5 hours.
Wow.
You see that? You see what he just did again? Me and Chad. Like comics and I don't exist.
You're usually asleep.
I don't see the relevance.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry to do this. I know I came late, but I got to go early. My
I gotta
husband
go
will
as
be here
well.
for 1 hour.
That's the way to do it.
I know.
All right, let's
Bye.
get you guys out of
Nice
here
to meet
before
you.
we do these.
Bye, Carrie.
Thank you for
Bye,
being
Carrie.
here.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Comics, you got anything you want to promote?
Back to all bros.
Tomorrow night, streaming 9 p.m. Central, we're going to be talking about spontaneous human combustion. So it should be pretty interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess I got to be there.
Because Mad has burned.
Yeah, we could definitely invite you. Since
I can tell you all about it. Not a fan, by the way.
Yeah.
A fire? Not a fan.
Can you tell them also about the
did
U.S.
you
Army asking you
spontaneously-
where all your equipment went after you got blown up?
Also true, yeah.
Anyway, that's basically it. Of course, there's the Thursday show, and of course, you can catch me on F&T as well. So good night, folks. Take care. Matthew, it's good seeing you again. Take care.
Good to see you.
See you, brother.
Night, Comics.
Night.
Later.
And yeah, at least on my channel, in the description, we've got links to all of these channels, everybody who is a panelist. So Yeah, part of this was pollination. Yeah, but what we're trying to do is get people to actually join everybody's channels between
And just hit
Matthew's
the
group
subscribe
and
button.
my group. Just go
Good
hit
luck.
the subscribe. Real
Cost you
quick.
nothing.
Hit a
No,
like.
no cost for hitting the subscribe.
Don't even
button.
have to ring the bell. You don't
Yeah.
have to have notifications. Just give us the free sub. Get our numbers up
Man.
so that everybody, all boats rise.
I wish comics were still here. Do you remember the dude that used to come on there with the top hat and the eye that was looking at a different monitor?
Yeah.
And he would be like, listen, do not subscribe to my channel if you're not going to watch my videos. I don't care. It just flipped out. It was the perfect way to get not subbed.
And I just clicked like on Matthew's version of the stream. So, all right, let's hit these real quick. Deeple for $1 says, congratulations on 100 episodes, Brahma. Ahoy, Mr. Marsden. Thanks for coming on the show. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment on the stream. All hail the bullpen and chat. Also, World Cup. We got a little bit of World Cup in there.
That's a no in the World Cup.
Mod Eric K over on the Rumble side for $1 says the new Iran deal will guarantee a few things, at least 1 million Iranians dead who protested, and they may not kill any of us for 10 years, maybe. Leaving that regime in power was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
And then the second part for $1, we should have supported the dissidents and removed the threat and let Iran be Iran again. I would love for the Persian people to have their country back. I think some of the news that I heard this week was that we did try to arm them through the Kurds, and the Kurds kept all the weapons.
Oh,
I
how
have not
unlike
been able
them.
to confirm that.
No, that was it. Was Erdogan blocked giving stuff through the Kurds?
I'm pretty sure Trump said we did it. The
Well,
guns never
I
got
mean-
to people.
I'm telling you that the back channel stuff is that Turkey was blocking that because they are not they remember Turkey has aspirations to take over the Kurdish parts of Iran and Iraq because they still think that's their zone. So Erdogan doesn't let anything get to the Kurds, and that's where he was blocking.
Yeah, I never had to deal with that part of Iraq. I was in Washington Street, Baghdad, so it was a different field.
Yeah,
there
the
than-
Kurds are in the northern section
Yeah.
of Iraq.
Well,
I didn't
believe it
want
or
anything to do with
not, I've had dealings with the Kurds.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You didn't expect that, did you?
No.
So I did a documentary called Finding Noah, where I was looking for Noah's Ark, and so we climbed Mount Ararat, and that area is all Kurdish. And you're absolutely right about the tensions there. So the Kurds actually had were designated a terrorist group, the PKK, and so what they did was they would get members of Kurdish families to join the Turkish army. And where we staged before we went up Mount Ararat was right next to a Turkish base. And I'll just tell you a very quick story about that because it's kind of funny. I was standing outside one day at the base camp it was a pre-base camp, and I heard this like ching, 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 ching. And I'm looking because we're at the top of, we're going up a mountain, right? So the part of where we stayed, you can look it up online. It's called Murat Camping. And I was looking down this hill, and then I just saw this turret come over, and it was a tank. And I was like, oh shit. Right? Because, I mean, you're in the middle of, you know what it's like, right? Out there. It's
Right.
the Wild West.
Yeah.
You could totally be
Madness.
disappeared out there, and you're never going to be found. And it was literally like a film. Ching, 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 stop. And I'm standing there going. And then the hatch comes open, and this
It's
guy
all fun and
jumps
games
out.
till the turret starts moving slowly and then lines directly up with you.
And I'm like, oh, and the turret opens, the flap opens, whatever it's called,
The hatch, yeah.
the hatch opens, and this guy jumps out and he goes, hey! He jumps out and goes and fills his water bottle up and then he jumps back in, turns the tank around, and goes back down the hill again. And I then emptied my shorts.
He's got his own personal killdozer.
Yeah, it was crazy. By the way, quick trivia: if you've seen Death Race 2000, talking about that
fuck.
moment when the turret comes round,
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that in that movie? I don't know if you guys remember it in the.
I
remake.
remember the movie.
That was a tribute that my buddy Paul Anderson did to Rambo.
Okay.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah. He said, I saw the scene with Stallone like blowing everybody away.
Oh,
and
with the 50 cal.
Yeah. And he goes, I just want you to know I'll put that in the film because it's a tribute to Rambo. And I was like, all right.
You know, now that you brought it up, I got to ask you, because you had the Barrett in the movie. Did they have like a plastic one for you to carry around? Because that some bitch is heavy. Oh, okay. All right.
Oh.
The one that's sitting in the corner of his room?
I can't see the corner of his room. I've never been invited to his house.
No, I'm figuring that's where we're going.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Nice.
It's
I
not
can tell,
looking
like, you-
so heavy.
No.
Well,
Yeah, so in the movie, she did that like Christopher Walken. In the movie,
Come on.
I used that when my buddies bought me that. Actually, it was up for auction, and then they
Nice.
just turned up at my house and bought it for me. But you use that when you're working with the other actors.
Right.
Like when I'm running along with it, you don't want to like wallop someone around the head with it. But for the most part, I was carrying the real deal. And that actually, another bit of trivia, it was the first, that Barrett was built for me. It's a short barreled Barrett, and it was the first one that they built. And unfortunately, I didn't get to keep one, but my buddies got with that. But by the way, guys, I just want to make a clarification of something I said, because I'm going to hold my hands up about this. Technically, I was right about what I said about We Were Soldiers Once, because it was filmed in March 2001. We filmed Black Hawk Down in March 2001. So the two movies were filmed at the same time.
Simultaneously filmed.
But we released early in December and they came out in March, but they were already training before me. So technically it did come after us, but
yeah.
I'm just
So
giving you your props.
no,
I
it's
knew that the
because
whole time, but I didn't want to say anything.
I worked at a theater for 10 years. That was and managed it in AMC. So I had to change your posters and do all that other shit. So I was keenly aware when different things were coming out. I also have like 3 or 4 We Were Soldiers posters and about 2 or 3 Black Hawk Down posters. So
Look, We Were Soldiers is such a great. I was in the Cav, so anything Cav related in movies, I'm all on. Oh damn it, what's the movie the with Clint Eastwood's kid? I even know their director. I talked to him several times.
with
Afghanistan in the man, this is gonna be
In the
embarrassing.
Suck.
No,
Yeah. Oh wait, there's the 3 days. Was it 3 days? No, that was the video game.
We all have the internet at our fingers.
I'm looking it up now.
Nobody's looking.
No,
I was
it's
going to say, how did we ever find out what that is?
The post. Something the post.
The Outpost. Was it?
So on a
The
positive,
Outpost. I just got it. The Outpost,
which is
That thing-
also a very good movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. And that I believe that was Fourth ID, which I was in the same division as that.
Oh.
But
So, you in for... When were you in?
04 to 08.
You might know a friend of mine, actually.
Oh no, I hope it's not the general that I try to steal his
Johnny
reactive armor.
Bockstein. Do you know Johnny
Community
Bockstein
armor, man.
by any chance?
Say it again.
Johnny Bockstein.
No.
Because he was on... You guys were on about Irish in Iraq.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was at oh man. yeah. We were right off of ours.
Yep.
I was at Fob Falcon.
Yep. My buddy was a sergeant in 4th ID. So I know his mom is on when we did because the 4th ID got deployed in 2008 to Iraq again, and you're at Fort Hood, right?
Yeah, I was a hood.
So I tried to do a screening for 4th ID, particularly on my dime at Fort Hood. and they pulled the deployment up a week early.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
if you were in then.
No. I medically retired in 08. Our vehicle got hit by an IED. I was burnt, blah, blah, blah. So I medically retired after that. But yeah, I was there at
burnt,
05.
blah, blah, blah.
Well, because I've said it so many times. I don't want to, because you know what I mean? But yeah.
You got a whole new audience listening tonight.
Well, if they go to my channel, maybe I'll
They
tell
want to
them.
know about the pain and the flight back without any morphine.
Also true. But yeah, I was there 05, 06 at Falcon. Around the time that the CBS reporters got hit, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy, when I first got to Hood, I was in Scout Platoon in 112 Infantry. And so until I went to a different unit, so I still knew guys there. One of my buddies, we met back up at BAMC because he was there with the CBS guys when they got hit. And it was their interpreter that screwed them over. He had them stop so he could interpret some graffiti on the wall or whatever. And then boom, boom, boom. Everything went down. With interpreters, man, we had some great ones. Love them to death. They were amazing. Don't trust them, but they were great. But then you had some that you just knew something wasn't right with them, so you kept your distance.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest things about in my life was after doing Black Hawk Down. I've spent a lot of time with you guys. As you can probably tell, a lot of time, and it's a weird situation being in films that mean such a lot to soldiers when you weren't really a soldier, and it's really humbling, especially as like Black Hawk Down is a very special movie, certainly for infantry guys and obviously the Army Rangers, and I've been very, very fortunate to have a lot of really good friends that are veterans. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, as long as it's not the Hurt Locker, that is such an embarrassment and insulting. I know you were that. I had to jump on it first. That movie, I don't think any movie's ever upset me as much as the Hurt Locker.
But everyone talks about it like it's the greatest thing, and I'm like, you want to go and speak to people about that, like in the military, and they hate that film.
Yeah.
And by the way, Zero Dark 30, when they flag everyone, like the SEALs are going in, they flag the back of everybody as they're going in. I'm like, what is going on?
It was still such a huge improvement from what she did with the Hurt Locker.
To be fair, Matt, Zero Dark 30 does have the smartest character you've ever seen in cinema.
Who doesn't really exist. I was so upset. It's the chick that runs away before the bomb goes off, the car bomb, when they go into the fob. And she just turns around and takes off. Smartest character I've ever seen. Turns out I'm watching the Netflix documentary on Bin Laden, and they show that footage. That chick didn't exist. They put her in for the movie. Oh, yeah. Still upset.
Of course.
Well, I'll tell you, you know what I've got up here? You'll enjoy this. On my wall up here, I have a flag that was on the al-Baghdadi mission.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Man,
the man who died like a dog?
You're hooked into everything.
Died like a dog.
greatest. I mean, that press conference, I don't know what to call it, was amazing.
I love Shane Gillis's thing
on
it. I said, why are you crying? But yeah, so but by the way, just going back to, so I apologize for the film thing in my head, obviously, because we were doing that movie because we did a limited release, as you all know, for the Academy, so we could get into the Academy Awards for 2002. So there was a limited release in December, and then the movie came out all over early in the year. So but when we went into Benning, they just finished their training for We Were Soldiers once. So in the same way you took the poster down, we saw them leaving. So I was like, I know they were there before me, but hey, listen, if I'm not in the movie, I don't care. I don't care what they do.
That's Matt's take on all of YouTube. If he's not on the stream, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even, I don't care. There are so many movies that I really nearly got, and I'm like, did they say, did you watch it? I'm like, nope. So yeah.
Let's keep going through these.
Super chats.
Oh,
Deadman
I forgot all about those.
$9.99 says, can you talk about how Tulsi Gabbard exposed the biolabs and how when she first said that's when Hillary Clinton called her a Russian agent. I tried to say she said bioweapon. She never said that.
I mean, I'll say it for Tulsi. You
Go
don't
for it.
have a gain of function research biolab if you are not trying to create a bioweapon. That is 100% the only thing you're trying to do. The gain of function research is so batshit crazy. The idea, like, if you look at it from a scientific standpoint, we are taking viruses that are novel within animals and trying to
Let's see if
mutate
we
them
can
on
make it work
purpose
for humans.
to make them viral in humans. The only reason to do that is you're not doing it for research. You're not trying to do it. You are trying to create something you can kill people with. And then the idea of using a virus is the stupidest thing also, because you know what viruses do? They mutate. In fact, gain of function is based on the concept that viruses can mutate.
And
So
I
if
thought
you
everybody knew that off the mobile game Plague
yeah.
So, Inc. I think we all played it. Like, that's what you would do. You would try to spread your virus or whatever is with few symptoms, so you can sneak up on people.
That's why, not to be Hollywood about it, but when they did the the remake of Omega Man, and they made it with Will Smith and I Am Legend, the premise was that a woman doctor who was trying to create a cure for cancer through a virus, like you create a virus that will attack cancer cells, it mutated and created the zombie human strain within humanity. Hollywood is smart enough to know that this stuff is how this would happen, like viruses mutate, and then they turn around and pretend like, oh hey, Pete, average person, you're too stupid to understand that viruses are not something that could become a bio. No, and Ukraine had
Andromeda strain.
And that's something, by the way, that was one of the things when Putin was making his case for going into Ukraine, he had two major causes of action he was talking about. The Azov battalion being full-on SS squads going into the Donbass region of Ukraine in the east and literally yeeting people off the face of the earth through all the worst types of methods to try to intimidate the Russian-speaking population into voting for the government that Victoria Nuland installed by way of USAID. And he said bioweapons labs on the border with Russia. And then eventually the fact that Biden was saying that they were going to put Ukraine in NATO, which was something that going back to the 90s we had put in writing that would never happen.
It's a red line that was never to be crossed.
Regardless of whether you think of a war for territorial gain is allowed. By the way, yes, 100% wars for territorial gain have always been allowed. They continue into the 21st century. It isn't the first time Putin did it. He took Georgia when
every time a Democrat was in office,
when Obama was in there. So like this concept that somehow this new world order that came into being after World War II has kept borders from shifting due to conflict is ridiculous. Go to the movie, the poster right behind Matthew for Rambo. Myanmar versus like that whole area in Southeast Asia has had shifting borders and names of countries because of conflict. In Africa, they've been doing all this stuff. So the idea that you can't change the geographic border of a country through wars for territorial gain apparently somehow only applies to Europe, because that's where they've decided that post World War II the lines are locked in, except they aren't, because they let Putin have Georgia.
That's the West playing by different rules again.
I think to sum that up, Chad's saying we should take Canada. It's there.
And Greenland.
No, I don't want Canada. We can take Alberta. The rest of Canada
as a territory, not as a state.
Basically,
I don't even care that it's Alberta.
We just need to take Alberta and enough of Canada to create so the highway to Alaska is all U.S. So I don't have to go through any checkpoints.
Create a passageway to Alaska.
Yeah, and then Greenland. Greenland's way more valuable than Toronto.
Rare earth.
Well, and the Arctic,
and the Arctic
with the sea ice allegedly melting, those northern,
stay on target.
Why don't we put data centers on Antarctica?
Why don't we take? You know what I just
said?
said?
Stay on target.
right.
Don't we have more super chats?
Yeah,
Or you're
we
like
do.
Yes, we do.
Antarctica.
Over
By the
on
way, as a
Matthew's
tease,
channel,
I've figured out how to get data centers without causing anybody to be unhappy, and we'll do that after the super chat.
Dottie May 42 gifts 10 Matthew Marsden channel memberships.
Well, she needs a round of applause. Sparky Lion. What she wants me to do here, I'll tell you, is she wants me to read out the names. But that's a lot of names, and I don't think I could torture your viewers with all that. Sorry, Dottie May, on this one I can't.
The thing is, since you're in my studio, you're not going to have the list of names when you go back over to your channel. So if you want to take a shot at it, it's up to you.
Our audience is used to it. I do accents for like $10. I'll read whatever you want me to in whatever accent of your choice.
Yeah, but the thing is, on Matthew's channel, let's try to stump him with names.
Yeah, they get me with names. Well, mainly because the people that get the memberships have crazy names, and I can't read them all the way through. And I try and do them. I can go back. There's quite a few though. Hang on.
Well, she gave another 20 memberships right after that 10. So
I know.
That is a total of 30 memberships from Dottie May.
All right, shall I go for it? You ready? Now,
give it a shot.
I've got to do it and not foul up. All right? You ready? All right, so Randall Orser, Robert Thun, 8214, Tracy Starr, 6T4, Slayer 66, VW, Steve F80, Mac P, 8144, My Two Cents, 3773, Aaron Money, 99, Captain Cat, 4361, Skull Leader, HW9HI, Grimlock, I know that one, he's from Transformers, 1975, Imo Michelle, Simb 123, I like that. It kind of rhymes. Rev 68, Matt M. Johnson, Eloise 33, Ryan Dickey. That's not a real name. It's not a real name. Tay 1290. Yep, it's me. H5L. Is that an L or an I? It's because my eyes are going. Great Coco 5237. You all got memberships from the most awesome, might I say. Gorgeous Dottie May, ladies and gentlemen. Sparkly.
I had my doubts before you did it, but now I'm like, oh, I totally get why they make you do this.
Yeah, and they love it. They love it.
Yeah.
And now I've got some more. Hang on a minute. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. If you don't mind, my
please.
very
I'm enjoying
is
it.
this the ones from more the other 20 from Dottie May?
Yeah, I'm trying to find them.
Dottie May with another 20. That's a total of 50 tonight.
I know. She she just said thank you, Matt. Hold on. So I've got to go back further. Goodness me. I want to hear your accent, though. That's what accent you get. Let's do Scottish. Can you read something out in Scottish?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, man. I have the best accents.
I bet they all sound Indian.
No.
So, Matt, if you filter to super chats in the comments, filter to super chats, and then it's the Dottie May one 34 minutes ago, and the names below it.
I can't
super
do that.
chats. Okay. All right, I'm at super chats. What did you say? At
the 34 minutes ago mark is where the next.
Yeah, I'm at 34 minutes. Oh, okay, sir. What? So Scottish accent? Oh, okay, that's an easy one. Get to the beginning of it. Here we go. I got to warm up though. I'm not Irish. I'm Scottish. Nope, that was Swedish. Hold on. All right, here we go. Wait. Clovers. Okay, I have to do Irish to get to Scottish. It makes sense. Clovers. At a Randall Orser. At Robert's Trontlate 214. At a Teresa Straw 672. Boy, this isn't easy. At Slayer 66 VW. At a Steve F80. I guess I don't have to say at every time, huh?
No.
I don't think people give you enough credit on how difficult this is. Daddy May 40. No, that's who membership. God dang it. All right. McApee at 80144. Nope, that was Russian. Hold on. I'll
See,
get
I
back into
told
it.
you, I'll make it look easy, don't I? Everyone thinks it's easy.
You didn't have to do it. You already have an accent. You have a built-in accent. I'm having to do this with made-up
Hey, I
accents.
can do it in an
Built-in
American accent.
My 2 cents. That is just going to be Russian now. Hold on. All right. Clovers. Okay. My 2 cents. 3. Nope. That's Swedish. 3773. We're just going to power through. Aaron Monty. He'll get back. Money 99.
tell you
Captain Kit. 4361. Nope. That was French Canadian.
Going French.
School leader. Grimlock 1975. Okay. Emo Michelle Simbid 123. Rev 68. Met me Johnston. That was solid. Eloise 33. Randy Dickey. That's not a real name. Tate 1290.
I think we're reading the same ones here.
Are we reading the same ones?
Yeah, because Grimlock was there. Remember?
Yeah, I knew
Ryan
It's
Dickey.
from
Well,
Transformers.
I knew so as soon as he said Randall Orser, which was the first one, but I didn't want to stop him.
But yeah, I thought that was good though.
Yeah.
It's
think
a
I
lot,
proved
it's a lot
my
more
ability.
difficult than you think.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should do the last readings because Courtney has been begging us to do a walking off. We should read the last names, me and you as walking, because
Okay.
we did this on George's channel too. We were forced to do our walking impressions.
You know, do you want to do the one? You can do Dottie May's 20 memberships that is back at an hour ago.
I'll do the 5 from copied that are over on my
Okay.
channel real quick.
Okay.
Dr. Megatron's. Okay, riddle me this. Spaceman 3952. Rob Altus. And where's the last one? Ronan Warnheit. Thank you very much, Copied Kitty, for the 5 gifted memberships. You're the best.
That's impressive. No,
I know you've got a good one too.
20 of them. I'll do 10. Yeah, I'll do 10 as, you know, Dottie May, 20 Marsden memberships, Sam Ashcast. That sounds like Ashcat, doesn't it? Dissident Porcupine, Blood and Guts, Burnsy 9269, Timu Girlfriend. We used to, by the way, we would do this when we were doing Black Hawk Down. All the actors would do. We all had a way that we would do a word, and I'm going to ask you guys to do it in a minute when I've done this. Burnsy, that's a good one for him. Oh, I've done that one. Hold on. Twisted Pepper Mint 9128 Marie D6V. See that is not a real name. See, you got me again. Ayita House. Betty Hughes. Thank yous, Betty Hughes. Real name 6258. User. See, this is not a real name again. User FX6TN1EN5U.
Wait, real quick. Can we get your definition of what a real name would be?
Like
Well, I guess like John. I don't know why. I
John,
thought of it
or
immediately. Like,
Terry Ruggier. No, fuck. Sorry, excuse my language. I got it wrong. I messed up. Terry Ruggiero. Rio.
Terry Ruggieri.
Jerry. Oh, Sylviam 67. Open Circles Arts. Last Braves fan. Chris Nova Cat. I'm running out of energy. I'm going to do the rest of this Trump. Serene Sapphire, possibly the greatest sapphire we have. FCJ. It's his birthday today, isn't it? Happy birthday, Donald Trump, apparently.
Yes, it is.
A friend of St. Joseph. I'm a great friend of St. Joseph. Possibly his closest friend. Boromir's Bane, the worst brother. Prefer Faramir. Boromir's a loser. Becky Knight, 4658. Good night, Becky. There you go. I don't have the energy to do Trump tonight.
Apparently, the UFC show has been fantastic.
Fantastic.
Tonight's the White House
shocked.
UFC show.
I was blown away by how great it looks in the music because they have a live band playing instead of
The intros.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Well, and they had
looks
a
great.
rain delay, and everything still went off pretty much.
And
perfect.
and the fights have been good. So I hear
the
I don't have it.
I got to watch
playing.
the first 2 or 3, and they finished in good form. So here we go over on Matthew's channel. $20 from Wolverine Snicked. Josh Hokett says Michelle Obama is a man in his interview after defeating Derek Lewis.
He 100%
I love this
did. It was his
I didn't
first
get the-
comment.
That's great. Look, I'm a huge Derek Lewis fan. He's a Houston, but man, I think it's time to hang him up. Love you, brother, but it's rough.
I like that. Linda Bonicelli just said, I don't know why this is so entertaining and slightly disturbing.
It's because it's a mostly political show. We go into crazy stuff sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I
WG,
sprinkle in some other stuff.
Apparently, WG's gotten into the drink a little bit after the Canes win for $50 now after the $20 one. I forget, did I mention Canes?
I thought he liked chicken. That's what I thought he was saying.
Cane's?
I love Cane's chicken as well. It's delicious.
No. Okay, you love their dipping sauce or whatever. Cane's chicken is bland as anything.
How can you eat Cane's when you live in Texas? Chicken Express exists there.
No, I don't have that anywhere near me.
Chicken tenders place.
Bro, I
ever.
live on the good side of San Antonio. Why would we have a Chicken Express over here?
Chicken Express is the best chicken strips.
Is it really?
Anywhere. Yes.
Don't listen.
Especially,
he pours. No. So,
see, Matt has a problem that I like everything with gravy, and Chicken Express gives you white gravy.
That's not my problem.
The chicken
So does
strips in.
Whataburger.
Yeah, but Whataburgers is just.
Let me explain. As somebody that has ate
frozen
with
chicken.
Brahma, when he says I like everything with gravy, we were at what was it, Denny's or IHOP or some shit, and he had to go get more gravy because he pours gravy on everything: the eggs, the potatoes, the bacon, sausage, everything.
Why would you not?
That's
gravy makes every breakfast food better.
No.
Oh, wait till
Bro,
you go
not
to
eggs.
Wait till you go to lunch with me. I mean, the first time I met
We've had
comics,
lunch.
first time I
Chick-fil-A.
met comics, we went to a diner. What did I order? Chicken fried chicken with gravy and a double order of mashed potatoes with gravy. Then I scooped the mashed potatoes onto the chicken fried chicken and then started cutting it up. I eat everything with gravy if I can.
By the way, I was very confused by chicken fried chicken.
So
chicken fried chicken's great.
breaded fried chicken, like chicken fried steak.
Yeah.
Where you have breading on like a cube steak that you've pounded thin.
But it's not chicken fried, is it? It's not accurate. The description. It's puzzling for me.
Some portions of the country called it country fried.
Yeah.
That's more like it.
Country
I like
fried
that.
steak or country fried chicken.
Yeah, because it's not like there's a chicken frying it.
What a chicken
never
fry?
Like you go there and it's like, frying the steak, because that's what chickens sound like when they're frying, even though they sound a little bit
100%.
like Mad's
Scottish
Scottish
accent?
accent.
He's like, here's my Scottish action. Birdie, bushka, birdie,
Okay, that only happened 6 times that I switched to that accent.
You should see him
thank
try
you,
to
Mr.
do
Dingo, too.
Italian.
And thank you and come again. You didn't go to that one.
No, that's not what that's not one of my go-tos. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Come again. Well, WG, to your Canes. Cheers. Here's a little Buffalo Trace going down.
What you drinking? I want to know.
Oh boy.
So this pour is a Buffalo Trace.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Earlier at the beginning of the show, because I've been drinking tea through most of it, I had some
Weller.
Weller Special Reserve.
Very nice.
And
Matthew,
then behind me, right there, that's That's the Weller row. I've got the Weller 12 year, the Weller foolproof, the Weller CYPB, and the Weller Antique 107.
Dude,
Very
And then
nice.
all the
But I
Woodford
have-
Reserve over there with all the Kentucky Derby horses.
they are a bourbon family. I had to take
Yeah.
video when we were hanging out at the bro over. That's when the bros get together, Quarter Black, myself, and Brahma. Anyway, and I got up. I was looking for a snack, and because I'm in the guest house or whatever at his parents', and I'm opening every the not the drawer, what's
Every
it? The cabinet. Every
cabinet
cabinet
door.
I open because fucking bourbon.
Blanton,
Not a single thing to eat.
Taylor, everything. I mean,
Yeah. And I was blocked in, so I couldn't leave. So I had to DoorDash Whataburger at like 2:30 in the morning and had to
No,
wait down with the
ah.
street.
When you picked that up, I was like, either you're a hobbit or that is a massive bottle of whiskey.
no, yeah, these are the 175s, the 1.75.
Look at the size of that.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like you should be like filming in forced perspective, like Gandalf. You know what I mean? Like that is a giant
Compared
bottle
to
of
this,
whiskey.
yeah, it's a
the
pretty
size
big
of-
bottle.
Look at the size of that
Look
bottle.
at this.
Look at the size of that boy's head. It's like an orange on a toothpick.
It's like Sputnik. Spherical, but
Head
quite pointy in
move.
places.
I see what you're doing, by the way. You're trying to out accent me. It won't work.
It
Well-
worked for both of us.
It wasn't hard, to be
Pants,
fair.
nay.
Yeah. Oh, get in my belly. I want my baby back. Baby back. Baby back. Want my baby back.
Oi, I'm from Britain, mate. Boom. I can do
A
yours.
little bit like that. You're like talk
Yeah.
a little bit like Jason Statham. You know what I mean? I'm gonna mess you up. I talk like that. Jason Statham talks like this in every movie.
Dead man
Just
for
Liam Neeson.
Native
$4.99.
American.
The most
Remember when
American.
individualism was a talking point in Star Trek? IRA, Graves, Measure of a Man, etc. I don't know the individual episodes of Star Trek, honestly.
No.
I've watched all of Star Trek, but I'm not one of the people that just has all the names of the original
I've seen the
series.
J.J. Abrams movies. I thought they were
Which-
good.
episodes.
Which episode was it? Measure of a Man? That's next generation.
Measure of Man was one, and Ira Graves.
And Measure of a Man is pretty known. That's the one where they were doing the trial to determine if Data was actually a sentient being that had rights. So,
Of course
but
not. it's
that was
freaking
next
robot.
generation. I don't know the other one offhand.
Okay. We also had Darren coming in, one of my mods, coming in with 10 gifted memberships. Thank you very much, Darren. We'll give one of.
Lil Chad always wants more, and so do I.
I don't understand why you hate Bryce Dallas.
Yeah,
Howard.
your
She's
hate
an
for her is a little
she's an
weird, dude.
American treasure.
I was like, she looked surprisingly attractive there.
That's what I'm saying. Surprisingly attractive.
That's just what she
No.
looks like. That's just what she looks like.
By the way, I like IRA Graves. I say IRA Graves. I'm like,
I
you
couldn't
need to
read it
stop with that
because of the
whiskey,
weird
sir. That's what you need.
need. All right, let's power through. Jim WTX for $10. Thank you very much. Congratulations on 100 episodes, guys. Matthew is great. I'd love to see more of him. Gonna subscribe to his channel. Here's to the next 100. Yes, everybody go cross subscribe.
Because we're writing down names. Just let everybody know.
Oh yeah, we know who's in
Oh, yeah.
both channels tonight. We've been watching. Dottie May for another $10. You want to do it?
You can do it. Go on.
Feed me, Seymour. I don't know. I've
What-
only watched the movie like one time, and that was like 30 years ago.
You've
All I
only
can remember
watched
is because
Little Shop of Horrors
suddenly
one
Seymour.
time. Yeah, that's-
I have to give her a sparkly line though. She's got a whole pride of sparkly lines.
Yeah, she's basically funding the whole show tonight.
She is. She is.
Dottie May for the $20 after you read the first group. Thank you, Matt.
We love Dottie May. She gets a little sparkly line. And with extra sparkles. I got to give her some extra sparkles. It's a beautiful thing.
Dottie May for another $10. Thank you guys for I think Mad trying to read as well.
That's definitely a thank you my way.
Yeah.
She's a fan of accents, I can tell.
Yet another 10 for thanks for helping Matt out.
Yeah. See, there's, one of my other guys isn't here, I don't think, and normally he loves this. Like, he gives me crap all the time because I never managed to do it. But there you go.
Dan Crane gifted 5 Matthew Marsden memberships.
There you go. Let's give him a round. I'll turn it down a little bit. Do I have to read those as well?
Maybe Chad should, but it might put everybody to sleep because
Chad's almost asleep himself.
Side.
Yeah, Chad should read them. Come on, Chad.
In an accent.
Right.
In an accent.
Yeah, make it interesting, Chad.
Native-born American.
You see how difficult it is. Go on, do it in a British accent.
Do it in your New Jersey.
What, New Jersey? Do
you know where the list is? We're at
the
5
accent
minutes
of
ago.
my people. The Dan Kane 5 gifted memberships. Yeah, I got it in front of me.
Starting with
Yep. All right. Let me go full Jersey then. In this house, Jared Bloker 5398, Bubbly 1 at Roberto Sabato 4955A, Agent M 1776, KB 4342. They're all good guys.
There you go.
It's so much better for Brahma and I because if you want to know what Chad looks like, picture New Jersey as a person.
Son of a bitch.
And to get us all
I'm
caught
not
up,
from Jersey. I'm from New York.
Dan Crane didn't just gift memberships. He also became a member on the Matthew Marsden channel.
Look at that. Wow.
Yay.
Yes. Let's see. I'm going to give him.
I don't know, Matthew. I think you got a shit ton of memberships this show. That's good.
I know.
90 to 100, it looked like.
I have a generous group.
Yeah.
I think we can probably reward that with one more clip.
I have a ton of thanks to give, and it could be all yours.
Seriously,
we're keeping the AI generated ones
Bryce
away
Dallas Howard
because
just looks like that. That's what she
Look,
looks like.
to be fair, that cake's pretty accurate to her. They
airbrushed
it out
over the past few years.
No. Even Jurassic World. Why am I taking up this? Hey, listen, Jurassic World. They had to airbrush her booty down because it was too big. Even on IMAX.
She
American
did keep the
Treasure.
high heels on.
No, we're talking. You watch the sequels, right? Anyway, whatever. I'm not going to get into once again defending Bryce Dallas Howard to you because clearly there is no pleasing you. There is no pleasing you.
Yes, I like gold.
I'm Austin Powers.
Pipe and a pancake.
You know when Goldmember came out, I was like, this isn't that great. But I watch it and it keeps getting funnier every time I watch it.
Shave me from myself.
I just when Michael Caine is like, you don't even have a name tag, just fall down. Just fall down.
I haven't seen him in so long. I'm gonna have to rewatch him.
Can I do a brag? My first movie was with Michael Caine.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
That's a good brag.
I played his son in a film. So, yeah. And what was really weird about that is because as a Brit, you grow up like knowing the accent, right? Knowing, the way he talks. And I was, we did the read through. Actually, who was on the read through? You guys are going to, this is crazy. So, Martin Landau, Andy Serkis, which is kind of crazy, and Michael Caine, amongst a few others as well. And I'm sitting there and I heard him go, "Do you know they're back?" And I was like, "God, that guy sounds just, oh yeah, it is. It's him. It's him. It's him." But I will tell you this, like, so as an actor, I've been very fortunate to work opposite some amazing actors, right? And a lot of people will go, well, you don't really know who the greats are. I mean, there's like Daniel Day-Lewis and then everybody else, or like Daniel Day-Lewis and Gary Oldman and everybody else. I mean, they are, to me, the planet to everybody, especially
Yes.
Daniel Day-Lewis. But I remember going in, and my first scene was on the top of this building with Michael Caine. And it was the first time, by the way, I saw little sides. You know, the little sides you get when you do a movie, they give you like the day's sides. I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah, they print out these like a little version of the script, just about yay big, so you can put it in your pocket. And you know, if you're going to run lines before you go on, you want to refresh them in your head, or if you haven't learned them because you went out the night before and you didn't learn the lines. I never did that, actually. It's a true story. I never did that, but I know actors that have. And that's where that line comes from, you know, in Tropic Thunder, I don't read the script reads me. That I have literally had that on set. But so I turn up, I'm doing this scene, and he says, Michael Caine says, do you mind if I go first? And I'm like, what are you going to say? Like, yeah, I do actually, Michael. I was like, no.
Yeah.
No,
So-
I get to take my rookie lap. Get out of here.
I know, right? And so I'm standing there, and he goes, all right, let's just run it. And I run the scene with him. And I was like, all right. Like, because I went there and I was like, I expected this great thing.
Right.
And I ran the lines with him, and I was like, okay, you know, I'm in the zone, right? I'm with him. It's not that it's kind of like, you know, playing tennis with Pete Sampras or whatever, like, you know, you knock the ball back and forward with him a bit. And then they go, okay, turnover, because they don't say rolling in the UK, they say turnover, right? So they say turnover and action. And he started the scene, and I went, and honestly, I remember going, oh, and I forgot my line because he was that good.
So warming up, he's just like fast walking, and then scene starts,
there's-
and he's like at a full sprint.
Well, there's levels to all kinds of things, whether it's boxing, MMA, whatever. I remember when I was in Iraq, we had a SEAL team that was working in our AO. They were doing these OPs, these observation points, right? And they took a couple of us offline to help with security, because they would be inside of someone's house watching a high priority target before a raid, stuff like that, right? And I got to go out with them, and just they operate on such a higher level than anything I've ever seen before. You're like, oh, okay, like you gotta get the hype, you know what I mean? Because it's just the way that they operate, it's how smooth they are, and none of them look like Navy SEALs from the movies. They're all just guys, very relaxed for the most part, you know. But just watching such a high level of expertise, high level of, you know, just being able to do it is phenomenal. It blows you away. But real quick, Gary Oldman, I saw True Romance for the first time 2 days ago. Oh, I feel so bad sleeping on that movie. It's phenomenal, and Gary Oldman
in that is, you don't even,
crap.
if you didn't tell people that's Gary Oldman, they'd never know. He's so in that role.
You thought it was
I have a Gary Oldman story. Do you want to hear my Gary Oldman story?
Yes, of course.
So I know his manager, Doug Urbanski, and Gary got an award, and at an award show that I'd done the voiceover for, and I was invited to the award show, and I'm sitting next to Gary Oldman, and I mean, I think he's unbelievable. You know, I mean, I thought he's in The Professional. He was unbelievable. Like everything he's done, he's been great in.
Tiptoes.
Yeah, and so what he does, which and Daniel Day-Lewis does this as well, and it's difficult to explain to people if they have never acted, but they can be really big, and they get away with it, right? Like the character in The Professional, where he takes that pill, you know, and he looks up at the camera. And he's so big. If he was anybody else, they'd say that's hammy acting,
Right?
But he's just phenomenal. And anyway, so I'm sitting next to him, and he's like this. He's like, "What did you just say then? What did you just say?" And I said, "Oh, I said blah blah blah." He's like, "Oh, okay." And he's like on edge, like totally on edge. And I'm like, that's, you know, it wasn't a big award. It's not like the Oscars, you know what I
Right,
mean? It was a
right.
small award ceremony. And then they go, and the winner of the award is Gary Oldman. And he gets up, dude, and he was like smooth and just like
Yeah, because turns it on.
that.
Yep.
And I was like, that is a different guy that was just sitting next to me. And I've been around actors my whole life, and I've never seen anyone do that. Like move from, because that's when it's easy, right? It's easy when you're going and being yourself and going,
Right.
thank you for the award. It was really bizarre. He was very on edge, and then he was just like smooth movie star, goes up, gets his award, just unbelievable. And I mean, he was passed over for years. Like, I mean, I actually think he should have got an Oscar for Dracula because I thought he was unbelievable in Dracula. And I think it's because it was, you know, that kind of a movie. But like, that's a classic thing. And in Dracula, you don't even know what he looks like under all that makeup. And you remember the bit where he licks the razor blade?
Yeah.
Or
As
he's
an
got
act-
that crazy like hair wig thing on it.
Dude, you've
I
got
mean,
to have
Fifth Element?
so much. You've got to be so. You've got to have so much confidence and conviction to do something like that on film, because film is all about making it smaller. It's not about making it bigger. And he makes it bigger, and you just go with him with it. Whereas if you watch other people go big, the other person who does this as well, who can get away with it, is actually Denzel Washington. He goes really big sometimes.
My
and
man. Yep, he does.
you just go with it, you know. But if you look at Daniel Day-Lewis,
no.
the way
You brought up Denzel. Now we're in trouble.
Denzel's-
Zephyr really wants me to make one of the AI Denzels for thank you for super chats and stuff.
just
for
going
her.
my man.
you got to do it. Have you got one?
I know. I've just got to get DB Wild to do it.
Hold on,
we
go
do
back to
have
the
some
Denzel,
for
though.
we do have some for the ladies.
What are they? Are you going to put one up?
You sure?
No, the ladies have to earn it. We don't give it away for free. I have no idea.
Well, Copied Kitty did give away 5 memberships. So.
Kitty donated again.
And we forgot to actually play her specialized clip. So
Yep.
I mean, listen, even as a dude, you got to go
Oh yeah,
Henry Cavill.
Brad
You-
Pitt.
yeah,
Yeah,
you-
it wouldn't be gay. It would just be out of respect. You know what I mean? If I
We've talked
'Cause it's
about it
Brad Pitt.
before, but Henry Cavill has that crazy thing in Mission Impossible where he like loads his arms and
yeah,
suddenly
it does this.
goes-
That's how I
he
pop my
does the-
elbows.
he goes. He
And
also
he grows a beard.
and like within
in
the,
the
frame.
same
Like,
frame.
Tom Cruise did that interview. Was like, we went back to the dailies. We were looking. We had no idea how it happened. He just popped a beard as he
loads
was
a punch, and he has a beard in the same frame. It's
I really like
crazy.
him. I think he's a really great actor, and I think he seems like a really good dude. You know, and I know
does.
he loves
Genuine.
You know, he's a nerd, isn't he? He loves the
Yeah, oh, big nerd.
I think, unfortunately for him, and this is inside baseball for a lot of people who don't pay attention to Hollywood stuff, he got snake bit by signing on with The Rock's talent company, where it was The Rock's ex-wife that was running it, and Danny Garcia. And she is just not a good agent and was not being helpful to him. And The Rock was trying to use Cavill to promote Black Adam, and so that's why
Yeah.
they did that little stinger with him as Superman in it, and they had him announce that Superman was coming back, even though the new DC guys taking over were saying nope, and it was that he got done dirty, but it was also because he had really bad management. Maybe I don't know if you've seen this before, Matthew, but actors can be steered wrong by their representatives into like he got into The Witcher and he had no control. Like there's a lot of times where what they'll do to make sure that the actors have capable, they'll get them executive producer credits with some teeth if they want to make sure that they don't get bulldozed. Cavill was not given that kind of stuff, so that showrunner would be like bulldozing him, and when Cavill was getting frustrated because they were changing the game lore and all the actual
In the book, yeah.
the book lore, because he's a big nerd, big fan of all that
Not
stuff. He was,
understanding the horse.
yeah, he was getting
Right.
into fights about it, and he didn't have, and to what Matthew was talking about, the dynamics on a set, he didn't have those extra bona fides on set to give him the ability to win those fights. And that
It's
ended up-
crazy, actually.
yeah, which
Great.
is,
I mean,
yeah,
he's an absolute movie star.
yeah. And normally when a movie star gets to the set, they will get either a executive producer or sometimes a full producer credit, so they can, because the stars know that I'm the guy making this
That's right.
happen. So they'll make sure they get that so they can protect themselves, because producers are really the end game boss of a set. It's not directors. People get that a little confused because they don't understand. Like when you win Best Picture at the Academy Awards, you know who gets the Oscars? It's the producers. It's the two or three top line producers. And when you see somebody like Mel Gibson win, when Braveheart won Best Picture, he won because he was the PGA credited, one of the PGA credited producers on that. Yeah. It's not because he was the director of Braveheart. The best director is a whole separate category. Producers win Best Picture because they run that show. So and that's why. And then Cavill, because he didn't get those credits and didn't have good representation, was branded as a problem. And this is what they'll do to a lot of creatives that they don't want to, let get power. Because they knew Cavill would try to keep things good for the fans, they branded him and did PR spin to say he's a problem on set. He's a bad, bad person. Never before.
Somewhere in there was a question that you had for Matthew.
Yeah. So what I was going to get is have you seen like people steered wrong with their representation and then had big career consequences because of that?
I mean, I've had it myself. So you come into the agents have a lot of power, and I had one incident where I was just after Black Hawk Down, then I did Helena Troy, and then I did Anacondas, and I didn't really want to do Anacondas initially. I was up for two other massive films, and Anacondas came in, and they were like, "Don't worry about it." I'm like, I don't want to do it. And they were like, listen, it's 4 months in Fiji and we're going to pay you this money. I'm like, okay, I think I'll go do it. But what people don't realize as well, like a movie like Anacondas, you might go, oh, it's Anacondas, but the Anaconda, look at the cast.
Yeah.
Right.
So in Hollywood, the fact that we got those roles was a really big deal in Hollywood because, the bad guy in the first one was John Voight, and it launched. Ice Cube was in it.
Jennifer Lopez.
What's his name as well?
That was Back to the Future before Michael J. Fox.
What's his name? Wilson.
Eric Stoltz.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz was in it. Yeah.
Well,
he was in it, but he was asleep.
There was a bunch of people in it, and so the dynamics in Hollywood, and I don't think people necessarily understand this, is like you're getting your next film, so the moment you've got that movie, everyone's talking about you, and so I just come off the back of Helena Troy, and I literally had a billboard on Sunset Boulevard with my mush on it, and so the agents are going past that every day, right, and that's the power of actually being in Los Angeles, being in Hollywood. And so when Anacondas came up, I didn't really want to do it. I didn't like the first movie particularly. I thought it was a bit cheesy. And, you got to remember, like, I just came off the back of Black Hawk Down and doing a movie with Michael Caine. I was in that area, and that's where I wanted my career to go. But I understood that if I did another studio movie, that's a really big deal. And so while I was doing that, I was up for another 2 movies, and it ended up, I can't say why, but basically that I didn't get either of those other 2 movies. And, agents have, actors have different quotes, and there's all different kind of dynamics on who they want here and there and whatever. And it's very difficult for you at that point to guide your own career, because, you know, for me, I walked in, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm in Hollywood, I'm going to listen to what the big agents say, you know. And on one instance, I will give you a case of when it was the right thing, when they, you know, they did take me the right way. I mean, they did it multiple times, but there were a couple of times where they didn't. So I got, if you cast your mind back to the heady days of the early 2000s, if you did movies, you did not do television. Right. Like the whole thing was getting from television into film. And I was in film. And the movie that I'd done had just won 2 Oscars. So I'm like, you know, if you look at the cast of Black Hawk Down, it was seen as, even then, was these are all the next big things that are in that movie. And so I get a call and they're like, hey, listen, I know you're not doing television, but they really like you for this television show. Will you go and do a pilot? Will you go and test for it? I had no idea what testing was. And so for people that don't know, you go in front of the studio. Well, it's network and studio. So you do the two. It's 2 auditions. And my agent called me and goes, hey, listen, they want to do a studio deal for you, but we don't think you should do it because we think you'll get your own show. And I was like, okay. And then they said, but we got to tell you, this is how much money you'll be getting. And I was at a payphone in Studio City, and I'd never heard that amount of money in my life before. And I went, what do you think? They went, we think you'll get your own show. And I went, okay, pass. Boom. And I put the phone down. and I was like, what did I just do?
That's a hell of a gamble.
What have you got? What did I just do? But you got to remember that when you're in the zone, you know, and I was walking in meeting Bryan Singer and meeting, you know, all these massive directors. And actually I called them back up later on. I went, do you know what? I want to go in on it. I want to go in. I want to read. Because I was like, if I get it, then I can turn it down. You know, then at least I haven't like. So I didn't know what a test was, and I won't say what studio it is, but I go into the studio, and I'd have 6 auditions, 7 auditions a day, and when I very first came to Hollywood, and I'd do them because I was like, oh, I'll do it, and because I could really quick at learning lines. Those are the good old days, and so I go in, and I walk in, and there's literally me, and then all of the executives like less than 6 feet in front of me. And I was like, what's going on? I didn't know. I'd never done a test before. I'd never done it. And they were like, this is a test, like, you know. And I was so thrown off. I absolutely tanked the audition, like tanked it. And because when you go to test, there's like 3 of you. That's it. And you also sign the deal before you go in. So imagine that. You're signing a deal and you're like, this is life-changing. And you're going in and trying to be cool when you go in there. So anyway, I did get my own show actually after that, but it didn't go, but it was with Jerry Bruckheimer producing it. And it was,
wow.
Yeah, Jim Gillespie, who directed I Know What You Did Last Summer. And my co-star was Frank Grillo, actually, which was kind of funny.
Really?
Yeah, so he played the villain, and but I was the lead, and the female lead was Joy Lenz, who went on to be in One Tree Hill for 10 years. We were really, she's actually the person that got me back to my faith. So, but yeah, I mean, so I got my own show and I was playing a superhero and everyone was like, this is crazy. We're going to have a great time. Oh, and the writer of the show, Simon Kinberg. It was his first ever job. And if you don't know who Simon Kinberg is, he did all the X-Men movies, Dark Phoenix. I mean, he's done everything.
X-Men fans aren't really a big fan of Simon Kinberg's work in the X-Men movies, but I'll leave that there.
Well, they were originally, but then later.
That third one was...
Here's what's interesting about Simon Kinberg. When you bomb the Dark Phoenix plot like he did in X-Men The Last Stand, it's really weird that like around 10 years later, 20th Century Fox is like, hey, Simon, let's do the same plot again and you get to direct and you get a do-over and you make it worse.
I
Like the
forgot about
fans
Dark
like
Phoenix.
actually think Dark Phoenix is a worse movie than The Last Stand.
Wait, didn't he write the Fan Four Stick too?
He's written loads. I'll tell you this.
He's got
That was
others
his-
work, but those ones are not his.
This Means War was great.
Oh, when
You've
he
gone
also
into
did
nerd
Mr. and Mrs.
territory
Smith.
now, Matt.
He did Mr. and Mrs. Smith as well. which
I
was great.
love that movie, dude. I was such a big fan of that
Yep.
movie. Watched it on the way. Did we watch it on the way to Iraq? I think on our way there, yeah. On the airplane, we watched it.
Well, this was his first
Maybe.
gig, and the pilot was phenomenal. So again, you know, when you get a movie that goes into production, you don't know how many cooks have been in the kitchen on it, you know, and how many people have had their, you know, as we say in the UK, stuck their
Right.
oar in on the development of it. And you know, I mean, listen, when we were doing Black Hawk Down, we had rewrites every day. You know, you'd have them come under your door. This was like old school. We'd have rewrites come in and they would come under the door. And then there was one part where we would part into shooting and the whole script was rewritten. And then it all went back to the way that it was before. So, I mean, these things happen. There's you know, there's a lot of people that have input on, you know, we were talking before about the different kind of levels of involvement and the,
Right.
you know, the different kind of power dynamics. And you know, and sometimes it works out, you know, sometimes people come in and they put their foot down and they get a great movie made. Like one of the classic examples is, you know, the original Star Wars New Hope, right? And it was completely re-edited and they put that, you know, the famous scene at the end with the Death Star that was never actually filmed, right? And they, you know, they did that to raise the stakes at the end, and you know, the editing made that film. So that's a good case of it. And then there are other cases where it's been absolutely ruined. And I mean, I'll tell you this, guys. I remember going and seeing when we did the premiere of Black Hawk Down. Ridley was literally walking in with the film reels.
Oh,
He was literally
man.
walking in with the film reels. Like he'd re-edited it, and that was like the old days, like when we were doing the premiere. And Bay's the same. Bay keeps it right away up until, you know, editing. But I remember, I'm not sure if it was, I think we did a cast and crew screening of it, and it was longer, and it wasn't as good as the final edit that you see now. And unfortunately, like some of my stuff was cut out because at the Mogadishu Mall at the end, like there was a close-up, a nice, beautiful close-up on me. But Eric Banner does a very similar thing to what I did at the end of the film. And so because it was redundant, it was the right thing to
Right.
do. They took my close-up out. But you know, these things happen, and I've seen movies ruined. And I've seen shitty movies get made. You know, I've seen terrible scripts get made, and then I've seen scripts. But I'll give a classic example. When they were making Pirates of the Caribbean, I read the script, and I didn't understand it. And obviously, I just worked with Jerry Bruckheimer, so my agent sent me the script, and I'm like, I don't get this like Pirates of the Caribbean thing. And years later, I met, I was working with Kevin McNally. And I said, Kev, off goes Pirates of the Caribbean, one of the biggest franchises in movie history. I hated the first version of the script. He goes, dude, I turned it down 3 times. I was like, thank God for that. Right? Because I was getting, and that movie was literally Johnny becomes that character, changes everything, and they're there writing, you know. And it was, I mean, the first one was brilliant. I went to the premiere at Disney, and it was spectacular.
It really is good. I've rewatched it.
Yeah, by the way, when you go to a premiere, don't turn up after Johnny Depp. It's not good when you're on the line.
Is there like a smell or?
No, it's just like nobody gives a shit about who you are when you
You
walk on the
are-
red carpet.
You were
They're like, "Oh, okay."
inconsequential. So,
Well, if Disney wants to pay me, maybe I'll find out.
so do you consider yourself officially retired from acting? Or, I mean, if something came along, would you do it? Like if Taylor Sheridan reached out to you tomorrow and said, because I think you would be the exact type of actor that Taylor Sheridan would want in one of his shows, whether it be like a Lioness type show where it's, modern military type thing, or any of his other shows. You have the politics that seems to somewhat match up with Taylor. I mean, he's a conservative in a different way because he believes in, men being men. He has strong women, but it's also, dealing with the land, the rancher type stuff, the old jobs that men used to do, that kind of stuff. I mean, if he were to call, I'm sure you would probably be pretty excited, right?
I wouldn't.
Or are you just done with acting?
No, I mean, look, I still get stuff that comes to me, but I would never do it morally. And so that's where I am, in my life and in my career. I'd like to do something. Let me step back a second. So I'm kind of like old school. I never would have said anything about politics if people would have just left me alone.
Right.
I think that we're heading towards, things have got so bad now that there was no, I mean, it was always going to happen for me because I was never going to be forced to take the vaccine, for example. So even if they hadn't canceled me back in 2010, it would have happened years later. So that didn't matter. And also when you're on set, and how can I put this? When you're living in a secular world and you're living in this kind of like, that's what's done. And this is certainly the case for me. Like, for example, they always used to say, when you go to drama school, you have to do the first day, you have to go and do your daily routine. So if you go to bed naked, you got to be naked, and then you got to get up. And I was always like, no. You know what I mean?
How is that acting?
Well, because they think
if you're doing things exactly as you would do
like
it, how
Lucky
is that
Socks.
acting?
It's kind of like Lucky Socks before a big game. You're not going to change your socks if you're on a winning streak, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, but but it always sat wrong with me. And, I mean, look, with the show that I got in the UK, I could have still been on it now and made tons and tons and tons of money and had job security. But it was never that for me. It was always pursuing, for me, it's always been about pursuing the truth. And, the movies that I looked up, I mean, I'm very much a fan of action movies, like entertaining movies. It doesn't have to be, these really great acting pieces. But, I mean, if you get into the National Youth Theatre, which is what a lot of people like kind of just gloss over, or when you have any kind of career in Hollywood, they think you just kind of magicked your way there. But it, I took acting very, very seriously, and I still do. And I haven't, I mean, I'd like to think there's been glimpses of what I can do, but not fully, because you rarely get the opportunity to get those roles like True Romance and whatever. So, I mean, in answer to your question, like the scripts just aren't getting made right now. And the rarity when they do happen, it is at the highest level, and Tom Cruise does it. Or, you've seen it across the board. Like Henry Cavill is a really good actor. He's got everything, but he's still not doing those jobs because those jobs aren't there. So that's why people are migrating to, and they did migrate towards television, because you could tell a story, a more in-depth story over a longer period of time.
Right.
So you get time with the character, but even that's gone. I mean, you can only speak to Taylor Sheridan. You can't look at Rings of Power. I mean,
right. I mean, that's specifically why I bring up Taylor Sheridan. I think he's Like, I don't know if you've watched most of his shows, what you think of him, but like that is a place where I think the culture and the politics are mixing, and he is subtle about it because, so I'll divulge a little bit. Taylor Sheridan is one of my cousin's godfathers. So almost all the characters in the shows are named after my family members. So our family has a little bit of a tie to him. He's not going to come out as, "Hey, I'm flat out conservative," because that's the death kiss in
He's
Hollywood.
conservative
You
coded.
know this.
I don't
But-
think he actually. All right, so this is where I disagree. I think his shows, whether it's him or in like Matthew was saying, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen when it comes to stuff being made in Hollywood's production system. I think they let him do enough so that they can use. I mean, there's a lot of clips that go where it's Yellowstone, where it's like, you know what, where it sounds conservative, but then it's like, but you know what, I don't like when people are not giving the Native Americans credit for all the. I mean, it's enough to, it sucks you in, and then it like stealth gets you into the left wing version of it. I mean, was it in Landman? They had the daughter end up with a non-binary trans roommate that she ended up getting along with and realizing they just needed to communicate better.
Which absolutely can happen. That's the thing. People freak out when they're in movies. We're at a point now where
you're just going too far the other way.
Right. Yeah. By the way, S. Craig Zoller, I just wanted to ask Matthew real quick. We were talking about conservative coded people, I guess. Have you ever watched Dragged Across Concrete? Brawl
No,
Cell Block
I
99.
didn't see that. I know of it. It was Vince Vaughn, right?
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Bone Tomahawk is another one. So S. Craig Zoller is another conservative code, a lot like, not at the same level, but Taylor Sheridan, right? Where you can clearly see his leanings, but he's just not blatant about it. I was just,
which is exactly what we ask of people.
Right.
Just make entertainment. Don't make it
I think
in your face one way or the other.
I think that's the point. Like, so for me, is it a good story?
Right.
And that's really all I care about. And look, so, you have some peoples, for example, that are Christian that say, well, you shouldn't even kiss a woman on screen. And I'm like, well, you're really moving into kind of risky territory here. Like, so are you telling me that like Superman shouldn't kiss Lois Lane? I'm not saying that it has to, or a guy that, should you have a guy cheat in a movie on his wife, and then as long as you show the comeuppance, like we can't have these sterile, unrealistic depictions of the world, because it's just not true, and it doesn't ring right for people. So I think that, like I said, for me, I would never speak about politics if people just left me alone, because I don't want what I think to ruin the movie for people. Like, I'm a meat puppet that's there to sell a movie and do a good job, and that's it. But it's got to the point where they force you into things. They force you into saying things. So for me, I look at Taylor Sheridan, and I think the Overton window has moved so far now that he's just making really great entertainment. I mean, let's put it like this. Look at Sicario, right? Sicario, for me, absolute masterpiece of a movie.
Yep.
Brilliant writing, brilliantly directed, brilliantly acted. And he's cast a woman in the lead, right?
Worst part about the movie. Agreed.
Right. Where you go, oh, well, woman in the lead, like, what you do? But guess what? She gets easily overpowered.
Yes.
Right. And so it's a real depiction of that, and it all works. I love her, by the way. I could
she's
watch
great.
Emily Blunt, like, read the phone book. I just think she's thoroughly likable.
Avoid disclosure day, because it's not good.
I know. I heard it's terrible. But listen, I love her in Edge of Tomorrow. I mean, I just think that's another masterpiece film.
Live, Die, Repeat.
Oh, it's great. But wasn't it great seeing Tom Cruise like singing his, lungs out at the yeah, but everyone should be singing their lungs out at the American, for the US team. This is where we are now. That we're just saying, I just want to go out and make good stuff. I don't want to talk about politics, but you guys push me out of my job because I don't think the same as you, and that's just fundamentally wrong and un-American. So they left me with no choice. And really now, as we're getting to be old farts, Brahma, it's not for me, it's for the kids. Like we are the last generation in the before times where you could actually succeed by being good at what you did. Now, it's like, I don't know if you're any good. I don't know if you're a DEI hire. I don't know how you got in there. And if you, I mean, for me, I can't disclose, it's very easy. People go, how many kids you've got? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you Catholic or a Mormon.
Obviously.
And then, yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden it's like, you are pigeonholed with all these other things. And I just, after a while, I'm like, you know what? Somebody's got to stand up. And the real tipping point for me, because when I got canceled the first time, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to adapt and overcome. I'm going to write, I'm going to direct, and I'm going to produce, which is what I did. I mean, I love acting. Like, it's the passion, the professional passion of my life. I love it. But I was thinking, like, what is it like for me on set now? Like, what would it be like for me on set? It'd be hell, right? Like, hostile. Before I just, it wasn't as bad as what it is now. But now it's just completely hostile. And I know people have called me up and they've said, hey, man, we love what you're saying, man. We love what you're saying. I'm like, going to help a brother out?
Yeah, join me. Yeah. Say something.
If there's more of you, if there's more of us, then it's like when you see the lions, or when you see the crocodiles going after the herd of wildebeest, they wait until the one gets separated and then like, okay, you're going down. But when everyone's together, they can't do it. And this is just true for everything, right? And this is what I love about what you said. And when it was your 100th episode, I'm like, I am definitely going on, because we need to support one another. And we need to, the more that we do this, the more that we elevate one another, the more power we start taking back. And it's frustrating, though, that when you get to a certain point, people just don't help you. They won't put their hand down.
You have to be careful, because I've been doing YouTube for a long time. Not super long, but a long time. And people I started with, man, they'll jump on your channel whenever they have you on. But then if they leapfrog you, you're dead to them. And you see it a lot. And you have to know who you're starting to associate with, because that will happen. You have to be careful about being used by others. And I've seen it done to so many different people too. They'll build somebody up on the channel, have them on all the time, and then as soon as they don't need them anymore, they disappear.
But it's awesome that you chose to come on, because we did a show where we were both guests on George the Giant Slayer. You've got 18,000 subs. I've got 780. But we got along so great. And, I supported your show. I came. I'm a member in there. I come in and I do the chat and, talk with everybody. And I make some points every now and then. But you coming to a channel that has 780 subs when you've got 18,000, you don't see that a lot.
Yeah, but I don't. It's, to me, the numbers are and always have been irrelevant. The only relevant, the only relevance that they have. I mean, listen, I've been in the, when you are doing a movie like Rambo or like this, and when you walk into a room and everyone's like, and then all of a sudden they're gone. It's very fickle. And you have to have it rooted in what you really believe and the people that you are working with and elevating. And that just means on a personal level, you know what I mean? Like, can we can we connect on a personal level? I mean, and having 18,000, I mean, that's nothing, right? I mean, that doesn't matter. But what I do have is the most amazing followers, and my followers. Now, I've always said it, are really tight,
Really loyal.
But the channel is theirs. I'm just you've been on, right? My guys just yap away, and I'm just in the background, and I'm like, that means a lot to me, because there's going to come a time when they're going to need each other. And, that's always been the way I've lived my life. My grandmother used to clean toilets for a living, and she was the greatest human being that, until I met my wife, that I know. And that's what I see, whenever, and it's always been the same. Even when I was on the premieres, on the, and doing really well, none of that matters to me. And I think that if you have that approach, and you look at, you have to look at the humanity of the person and the soul of the person, and connect on those levels. And especially in a world now where we're being so divided, and people are trying to pull us apart. You have to be the one. It's incumbent on you to be the one to put your hand out. It's incumbent on you to be the one to do that. If you have any kind of platform, it's your responsibility. I feel it's your responsibility. So, I was very flattered to be asked on your show, and considered it to be, and still do, an honor that you would want me on your 100th episode. So
it was a close vote. It was a close vote. You got 3 out of 4. I'm not going to tell you who the one was that voted against you.
but I mean, that's the way that we're meant to be, and you have to live your life the right way.
Well, and obviously, there's a repertoire there, because we've been talking for 3.5 hours, and everybody is getting along just fine, except for little Chad, who keeps trying to call you out on things.
Boy, this guy. I guess we figured out who that one no vote was, huh?
I would disagree with that.
But no, I will say, it people mix differently when it comes to YouTube stuff as well. I've always looked at it. You have guys that are shooters. This is basketball. I don't know how to British it up for you, Matthew, but just try to follow along here. So you have the shooters, right? The ones that are going to be taking the shots. And then you have the support cast that are just important. The guys that are getting the rebounds, they're blocking, they're playing defense, right? And on the stream, if you have too many shooters, too many talkers, too many people that can generate a conversation by themselves with their chat, if you have too many of them, it doesn't flow, because everyone is listening for a chance to talk, rather than listening to hear what's being said, to comment.
Listening for an opening rather than listening to what is being actually said by the person you're waiting to stop talking, right?
I mean, I've been on some panels I've been on with Nerdrotic, I've been with Jeremy and those guys as well, and got along with them great, but
freaking Matthew on Tim Pool the last time he was on said maybe 15 freaking words.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And it's not his fault.
Crazy. You're gonna have to elbow your way into that one. That does happen where you're just gonna have to force
some crazy leftist chick that Tim just was going at the whole time, and Matthew unfortunately just had to kind of sit there like, okay, we're not having a conversation, we're having a debate between you two now. I mean, that's what it looked like from the outside, at least.
That was a really weird thing, because I went on the show, and you don't know who's going to be on. I know Ian, and I just met Tim, and this girl turns up, and I said something, and she's like, "Was that really true?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Why are you being so aggressive?" Like, I didn't realize that she was the token lib on the, and then it just carried on like that, and I'm like, I have nothing to contribute here to this, because I'm not fighting you. I hate to say it like this, like, I considered it to be below me to argue with her. You know what I mean? Because I'm not that guy. Like, if you prod me, I'll mess with the bull, you'll get the horns, right? But
Right.
I'm not going to sit and argue with him. Life's too short, man. I don't that stress in my life. If someone's going to do something that's like massively insulting, or be derogatory to someone, one of my members or whatever, then that's a different thing. But I'm not in this life to argue with people, believe it or not. I mean, I just, life's too short, And so I just sat there and I'm like, okay, then it's going to be a long night.
It was a long night.
And everyone was going bonkers in the chat, right? Like everyone was like, what is that woman doing? And
Yeah,
and
please
I did
let
have a
Matthew
couple of
talk.
Yeah.
I did have a couple of points to make, but she was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I was never invited on, so I don't watch.
You should
Simple,
do do what I do with movies.
Yeah.
Put up the movie, like, don't watch it.
All right, Zephyr, who has gone from your chat to my chat successfully, because Zephyr's in my chat almost every Sunday night until you
Amazing.
started doing Sunday nights too, but she still joins in later. So we have something special. I haven't even previewed it yet.
You know we love you. We really do.
Oh,
Yeah, the voice was a little.
DB
little
Wild
off,
got you
yeah.
some Denzel.
It did.
It was a pretty short notice ask. He
That's
did
pretty
pretty
good.
good.
I got my there's a few of my regulars in there. Like I got Mike D and Joan Lovelace is in the house. Dottie May just gifted 42. Dottie May 42 just gifted 5 Matthew Marsden channel members. It's late here, man. It's 2:41. I'm like
I know it's late for Chad too.
12:41. Sorry. See how kind of
Yeah, I was like,
See, I'm lucky. I'm 11:41.
East Coast, Best Coast. It's 1:41 a.m. for me.
Oh, well,
What
I
the
was up this
third
morning
coast?
at 5 o'clock to take my daughter to volleyball. So it's been
my
quite a long
gosh.
day. And I'm an old man now.
And I thought it was bad when I had to get up for like a Little League game at 9 in the morning. Then we'd have to be there at 8 for the warm-ups.
Yeah, it's like I was already there at 6 o'clock.
The only thing earlier would be like figure skating. Oh, never letting any of my kids get involved in figure skating.
no, they shouldn't have anything to do with
Swimming
the
is
ice.
typically very early too.
Why? Dude, I dated a girl played water polo. I don't know if you ever. Why am I here? Why am I watching water polo?
My son was a water polo player.
Oh boy, what a waste of a pool.
Well, and as well, it's like scandalous what they wear. Actually, the women. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but well,
The
of
women
course you do.
I kept my eyes closed the whole game.
Is let's pull off the top of the chick next to me, just trying to hold her back.
Oh, and you know what got me? There was those games would be mixed, and you don't want girls going in with male water polo players. That is not a good mix at all.
No, I would
Because
not
I mean,
think so.
none of the boys can get out because they all have boners because of the chicks in the swimsuits.
Well,
Especially after they pull the tops off of them.
Yeah, my son is taller than me, and so he would. I mean, it is so violent. I know a lot of people like when we first moved to Texas because he was a swimmer. People would go, "Oh, Finn, with your little speedos." I said, you know what I said? I went, ask the football team to come to one of your practices.
Yeah.
I will say, water polo is no joke. Of those chicks were trying to murder each other.
Yeah, they didn't mock him anymore after he tried to drown him in the pool.
Yeah.
And just swimming that much with really no, I mean, the whole thing is the deep end. It's not like you're just occasionally resting by standing on the floor.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
you're having to actually actively swim the whole time. All right, let's get these last ones, and then we should probably call it because it's getting late. We're at 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Not me, bro.
How much for my 1 hour here, right? I have I have absolutely zero. What's the discipline?
So, you've said that you use EV Mux too, which there's very few of us that use EV Mux, but you know what the speaker link is, I'm assuming, where it's a permanent link.
I didn't know
You
that.
can come back anytime you want.
Oh,
So I'll send you an actual link. I'll need your email, but if you put it in the private chat,
But
I'll send
did
you
you
a
see that,
permanent
Chad?
link.
He didn't even take it to the board. for approval. He's just giving out permanent links.
I second Brahma's move. You're
straight.
overruled.
Dang it.
But that
I'm
way,
reclaiming my time,
anytime
point of
you
privilege.
anytime you get done with your show on Sunday, if we're still going, you can pop in for a couple minutes, say hi, talk about whatever. I mean, this is kind of how the show goes. We usually have a few clips because we're, talking about whatever's in the news. But, I mean, it's just a whole bunch of guys talking, and Carrie sometimes. So,
Great.
Southern Belle for $2 says, "Are data centers future smart cities?"
Oh, that reminds data center solution.
Oh,
Old
boy.
malls that are closed down.
Oh, that's
Why
not
convert them to data centers? Then you don't have to tear down any shit. They're already mostly built. They already got water lines. Just make them.
Well,
Here
I
they're
think a
just
better idea-
converting them to apartments.
Brahma, when we went to go see Superman, that place, they have apartments in it, right? Or they were building it above the mall? Or was that
Yeah.
an idea we came up with?
No, it's happening where I am at, and I told you about that when
Oh, okay.
we went to that mall. That's basically a dead mall. That
I
only
think
has
it's a great
theater.
idea. How awesome would it be, man? You wake up, go to Auntie Pretzels or whatever, Aunt May's
Auntie
Pretzels,
Anne's.
Auntie
yeah,
Anne's,
man, talk about a good morning starter.
Well, and Costco's, I think, are starting to have apartments and condos built on top of them. They're starting to go vertical, so it's a thing. But no, I think data centers are going to be in space from Elon, and I think they
True.
should go to Antarctica, where the cooling doesn't matter because
Which side of the wall?
they're not
Freaking
allowed
frozen.
on Antarctica. You got to go through the firmament.
yeah.
Which side of the ice wall, Brahma?
That's how flat Earth works, and Matt is a flat earther.
And then we've got Dottie May, 42, with another 5 Matthew Marsden channel memberships.
Well, it is late. Do you want me to give it a go? It's only 5.
Sure.
All right, there we go. All right, I got to say, Dottie May gives 5 Matthew Marsden channel memberships. Deb Scotland Yard. See, look, that's not a real one again. That's not a real. Can you see that? Renee Noel Polin.
Nailed it.
Noel, I believe.
Yeah,
Didn't nail it. My bad.
Renee Noel Polin 6549. Ronnie 5, is that like 5 alive? Do you remember that? Amanda Favreau, thank you for a normal name. And Jason in Dallas, another normal name. Sparkly line.
You can't be too
But
upset
it's
about
not
the
a real
Noel.
name.
You can't be too upset about Noel when he was going Henry Cavill earlier. I don't know if anybody.
What, is it not Noel?
Isn't it? It's Noel, not Noel. When you say Noel,
Well,
either way, it's
okay.
Cavill, not Cavill.
Put your hands up
All right.
Depends
if
on
you
which
know
country
the
you're from.
singers. Do you know the brothers in Oasis?
Yeah, Noel Gallagher and
Oh, what?
Liam and Noel Gallagher.
yeah,
No.
Right.
Okay,
I
that's a
just-
fair point.
yeah.
I'm assuming Renee is a female, which maybe not, because Renee can be a male name too.
Can
So
we
if
not
it's
all
a middle
Can it?
name, Noel would make more sense than Noel if it's a female.
Well, wouldn't it depend on the last name? What's the last name? What was it?
Poland.
Yeah, Poland 65499. Not a common
I
last
don't
name.
think the numbers are part of the last name, man.
You don't know names?
I haven't been drinking. I think I should have been.
Well, I mean, your other stream had you with a glass in your hand. So
I know.
the thumbnail. I did like the thumbnail you did up for this show, though.
You like that?
Yeah.
It wasn't accurate, but you know.
All I did was pull up your Twitter picture pretty much and throw it on there. Let's get closed out. We're at 3 hours and 45 minutes. Matt, what do you got coming up?
What have I got coming up? Going to do a stream tomorrow at, it's going to be 2:00 tomorrow for all my peoples. I'm going to do that, and then I'm probably going to do a stream on Tuesday because Tuesday, then Wednesday, and then because I'm not streaming over the weekend. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Wow.
Cool.
Already taken my night. This is ridiculous.
I'm not going to lie. I've been watching your chat along with my chat and then the combined chat. there's a lot of people in your chat that think that you should do some paneling stuff. They seem to like this.
Because they don't want me talking by myself for 2 hours. Like,
I don't know how you
very
do it,
boring.
man.
I
can't do it. No, I got to have somebody to bounce off of. Like I cannot sit
like
there.
Nerd Roddick can do it all night long. He can go for 7 or 8 hours. You go for an hour to 2 hours. I don't do the by myself.
I go about
thing.
5 minutes
I like
before
to have
I'm
somebody to at least bounce off of.
Yeah, I go about 5 minutes until I'm in my DMs hitting up everybody, begging.
Mainly, Brahma wants me here so he can jump out for smoke breaks. He'll wind me up about the Ottoman Empire or some historical thing.
Well, yeah, that's the best part about little Chad is you just ask a question, wind him up. Like, hey, Chad, can you give us a 10-second elevator speech? And he goes 7 minutes right off the bat at the beginning of the show, giving an intro.
And you know why? Because context matters.
Yeah, talk to us about the Great Siege of Malta. There you go.
Fucking Malta.
Not tonight.
Chad, what do you got coming up?
Just our normal Friday show, 9 p.m. Eastern. I don't even know if there's anything good coming out in the theaters this week. For people who like to say that I'm always nice on movies, go rewatch our last episode. I fucking destroyed Disclosure Day, and people were shocked at how much I hated that movie. So we'll do that. We got, I think, Matt, if you're ready to start, I didn't want to start your bracket if you were going to be leaving town. Did we might be starting Matt's bracket for the 2000 songs.
We can talk about it after.
Yeah. So, but otherwise, it's just a nice, fun hangout stream where we'll talk about games, culture, movies, whatever. 9 p.m. Fridays.
Mad Gizmo, what do you got?
Yeah, man. Every Tuesday, History Interrupted on Matt's new channel. Just Matt's new channel, and it's great, man. It's something different that you don't see in this sphere of YouTube. We my girlfriend's on there. She will read us a story from history, and we have a panel, and we're just interrupting and making jokes and having a great time. So you can learn something from history, and you can also have some fun, have some jokes. It's great. It's a great time.
As for me, I'm all over the freaking place. So Tuesday, I am on with Mad
at 9:15 p.m. Central.
Wednesday, me and Carrie Smith do the Christian panel, which we will have to get you on, Matthew.
Be careful, I got banned from that one.
Odin and Michelle from Force of Light Entertainment on there as well. Odin from F&T. Thursday, I'm on Comics Division's channel. Friday, I'm on Ascend and Art. And this Saturday will be the last episode of Bourbon and Boarding, where we talk about hockey and have a little bourbon. So then we do the Bullpen every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Mountain Time.
Oh, sorry, real quick. We're going to have Zach's on this Tuesday. We're doing our second Canadian story. The last one was when the Fenians lost the American territory to Canada. But we're doing another Canadian story for Zach's, our Canuck expert. Will be coming in.
All right. You got anything you want to say to your side of the stream, Matthew, before we...
No, I'm great. I just want to thank everyone for coming. I do have the best people, as you've probably seen, and I'm very grateful for them. So I'll just see them tomorrow at 2:00.
And I will say we have the best people on our side of the stream. And thank you, everybody, for all the donations tonight. I hope everybody cross-pollinates, subscribe to everybody on both sides of it. If you liked what we were talking about tonight, which there's a lot of you that have been here for 3 hours and 49 minutes and 26 seconds. So I think you must have liked something that was going on tonight. Just take the extra step, hit the sub on everybody. All the links are in there.
And after the streams are over, don't be shy about leaving comments.
Let us know who the favorite is, me.
Yes. That is the other thing. The algorithm. The more interaction you get after a live stream is done, the more it goes into the algorithm. So comments, even if it's just, hey, thanks, guys, or I disagree, fantastic.
Mad was my favorite. Whatever comments
you can plug in on things. Yeah. Matt is everybody's favorite. So
this is true.
There will be no after show. This was the after show for an extra 2 hours. Hope everybody has a great week. We will catch you later. Thank you, Matthew, for being here. Thank you, Matthew's chat, for hanging out with us. And great 100 first episodes. Let's keep it going. Night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for being.
Oh, I was muted. Night. Do you want me to end it?